Standing by to answer your questions and tell you what your case is potentially worth. Pick up the phone, call now.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Welcome back. Before we go, we want to tell you about a new development in the case of Nancy Guthrie. The suspect seen at her front door on security video had reportedly been there before.
A source telling CBS News that person was at the door at another time. The Pima Sheriff's Office responding to this report, saying any suggestions the photos were taken on different days is purely speculative.
Meantime, in just a few hours, actually, you know what the thing is that, this is alarming because no one knew that this person had been there before. Now, if he had been there before, and they have to actually narrow down the time that he was there, and that's why it's important, Krisha, that the Pima County sheriffs and federal law enforcement actually try to get as much video from the neighbors and everyone else within a certain circumference, so that way they can actually analyze to see how many times he's been there. Because it seems like he had been casing the residents for quite some time.
That's such an important point because there has also been a lot of discrepancy from what we've been seeing with the Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI with respect to their reporting. And here, to your point, John, it does change the nature of the case because if the person was casing Nancy Guthrie's house, maybe we could get more clues as to who the person actually is. But of course, we're going off reports here. None of this has been completely confirmed as to the latest in this case. It is clearly not a cold case. There's an ongoing investigation. We're still also awaiting a lot of the DNA evidence.
Yes, it's very warm, and additional information is continuing to come out. Now, it is based upon the reports that we read. That it's the same backpack.
Same backpack, yep.
Ski mask and so forth. So it's likely the same person.
It looks like it is.
Who's been casing the residents. So it's a matter of, they're going to put all of these different clues together to actually figure out who this individual is, who actually, this is very much premeditated.
Right. Well, a lot to discuss today, and President's State of the Union address is tonight.
Exactly. Meantime, in just a few hours, the president will address the nation in what could be his most watched speech ahead of the 2026 midterms.
That's right. Newsmax will cover the address. You don't want to miss it. You want to watch it tonight. President Trump says,
bringing clarity to cultural confusion. Stand in the Gap, Wednesdays and Thursdays on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative. Good morning. You're tuned to the Dove, encouraging and informative, helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on the Dove.
Well, good morning to you and happy, Monday, Tuesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. I'm Perry. Steve is gone, or excuse me, Jerry is gone. Steve is here. There we go. There he is. Steve Johnson.
I'm here.
He's here, live and direct from beautiful downtown Tucson, Arizona. He has his Dove coffee mug, and he's awake and ready to go. He's an hour ahead of us. So what he's about to report on is already news.
That's right. The world is still spinning.
There we go. Anyway, good morning. You doing okay down there? Everything all right?
Yeah, well, doing all right. We're going to talk about the latest with an Anthony Guthrie investigation, which is the big story down here, unfortunately. But yes, things are great. It's sunny. We don't have all the snow that they're still expecting in the Northeast. It's beautiful down here. And you're kind of getting some nice weather, too, coming in, I guess, right?
Yeah, we've had 24 hours of heavy rain. We're not complaining. We need this.
That means
very
snow
mild.
also.
Yeah, very mild temperatures. So I don't know, the snow levels are probably pretty high, but nonetheless, we're getting the much needed rain that we need. More flights are being canceled in the northeastern part of the country. I think another 2,000 flights were canceled yesterday?
I've heard more. Yes, that's in addition to like the 10, 11,000 that already have been canceled. And that, of course, as you well know, has a ripple effect that goes across from the east to the west. So right. West Coast certainly impacted from those delays.
Well, that one's a bad one. It's really putting down a lot of snow. Well, anyway, good morning to you. There's a lot in the news. There always is. We get that to you. We'll give you an update on the weather. But what's happening today? What's special?
Well, two things that we should know about, and one thing that people can be involved in a number of ways. It is National Trading Card Day. I think of baseball cards, but then there's Pokemon cards, which that's a whole nother level, but it's worth a lot. I've seen some of these shows where a Pokemon card, one of them is worth $5 million. It's crazy. But they're still out there. People are collecting them. And Pokemon has been around for quite a while. So it's National Trading Card Day. And I like this. We should have had it during the Olympics, so it's National Tortilla Day.
Oh.
So what is better than tortilla and salsa, guacamole? I see a line there that you can kind of splooge all over it. Tortillas are a good thing, especially if you have a good salsa. That's how they say it at Seinfeld. Salsa. Just like to have salsa. Oh, and the guacamole. That's great.
There you go. So those are the two things today.
Just two things, but what more do you need? Trading
Nothing.
Card Day and salsa.
That's good. That's good stuff. All right. Good morning to you. Well, let's take a look at the weather for you today, and let's see what's happening out there. And I can tell you this: we got a lot going on in the weather scene. Primarily rain everywhere. Northern Oregon, Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, McMinnville, all with rain showers. Temperatures upper 40s, around 50 degrees. It's just slipping into the Willamette Valley, Salem, Albany, Corvallis, Eugene. Again, all with heavy rain throughout the day. Temperatures in the upper 40s to the mid 50s. And then in Central Oregon, you'll see some rain out that way, but a little bit milder temperatures. 56 in Prineville, 52 in Bend, Sun River 48, and on out to Boise 50 degrees, all with scattered showers today. The Oregon coast looking for, again, rain. Mild temperatures, upper 50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City. Temperatures well into the upper 50s today with the rain. Southern Oregon, we've had, some very heavy rain here this morning already. Grants Pass, Medford, Ashland, and Klamath Falls, all in the mid to upper 50s with scattered showers and heavy rain at times. Northern California, Wairika, rain 50 to 4 degrees, and then into California, Redding and Chico, upper 50s. Down around Sacramento in the metro area there, continued rain showers, temperatures around 60 degrees. The Bay Area, rain. Santa Rosa 59, Napa 60, in the city of San Francisco 63 with rain, and rain is likely in San Jose with a temperature high of about 66 degrees. And that's your weather, brought to you by Grange Co-op.
I like that a lot because look at those warm temperatures. That's terrific. The East Coast would love to have that.
Oh, yeah. And there's a picture of our valley this morning. Those are rain clouds out there. So the planes are coming and going, but some low clouds, but primarily rain clouds. And that's the way it is out there in Never Never Land.
That is great. There's advice that you like to get. You go, why haven't I thought of that lately? Sometimes you just need somebody to bring it to you. This is something that we could hear every day, though. Pastor Greg Laurie, he's encouraging us to all do something we should do all the time, and that is think before we speak.
God says in Galatians 5:15, you're always biting and devouring one another. Watch out, because you're actually destroying one another. Why do we like to tear each other down? Does it make us feel superior? It's easier to critique than it is to create. It's easier to tear down than it is to build up. No question, you'll get more clicks, more shares, more engagement. But is this what we should be doing right now? You know, the Bible tells us that we are to build up one another. Now, there's a place for questions. There's a place for discernment. There's a place for holding each other accountable. But I think a lot of times we just want to attack without knowing the facts. And that's why I've often said you should apply the acronym THINK before you speak or before you post. THINK, T-H-I-N-K. Before you say it, before you post it, run through that acronym. T, is it true? Are you sure it's true? H, is it helpful? I, is it inspiring? N, is it necessary? K, is it kind? Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Jesus did the opposite of what people would think he might have done. He complimented John and honored him and said wonderful things about him because he loved him and he understood his questions. And by the way, Jesus loves you and understands your questions as well.
Well, that's a good one. You ever stop? Have you ever stopped saying something you were going to say?
There's the problem. Putting the brakes on it.
There you go. All right, good stuff all the way around. All right, good morning to you. 7 minutes past the hour. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. And Mexico is really an amazing situation throughout the entire country of Mexico and the various states down there. As you know, the leader of the cartel was killed over the past weekend, and that caused rioting and all kinds of bad things going on. They're burning things. They're burning a lot of buses. And primarily because that's the main means of transportation for a lot of the people. So they're burning the buses up. But certain recreational areas and destination areas like Puerto Vallarta and others now are really becoming a trouble spot whether or not people can get in or get out. Most Americans are told to stay put. The airport's got problems coming in and out. They even burned a plane. And then yesterday, the government of Mexico confirmed that 25 Mexican National Guardsmen and 1 prison guard and an innocent woman died in a series of terrorist-style attacks and throughout the city. So it's pretty amazing. Here's what one tourist had to say.
We're just kind of staying here and, keeping to ourselves. We've talked to a lot of people that were supposed to leave yesterday and weren't able to. So, they're having to deal with trying to extend their stay and all of that. So it's a little scary. Everything that we had planned to do has been canceled, the shows and that sort of thing. So there's not much to do because everything's closed.
So that's pretty scary down there. We don't know if the American government's going to go in and try to keep the airport safe so planes can get in and out. We don't know that yet, but there's just a lot of burning, looting. They literally burned the Costco to the ground and every car in the parking lot. It's an amazing mess down there. All right, we'll keep you up to date on that. In the meantime, let's see here. What's going on with Nancy Guthrie there in Tucson?
Well, they still don't have any suspects at this point. However, there's another Ring camera type video that they've been able to collect. Now, they don't know, was this something the same night of the original Ring video, or was this from a different day? And so the investigation goes on. The clothing looks similar, but they say the shoes are different. So that leads them to believe. And this is the video, the picture that they have of it's brand new. Again, you can't really identify the person involved, but there's some people who are saying, why don't they just bring out everything that they have so people can see the evidence? Because right now it's been over 4 weeks and they have no suspects at this point.
So
that's kind of where we're at. Yeah.
One picture he has a backpack on, the next picture he doesn't.
Yeah, and the clothing, the jacket looks a little bit different too. So we've got some difference going on there.
So do we have the possibility that she was being stalked by somebody, by this person?
I think everything is out on the table at this point. It's just hard to tell.
Wow. It's so sad. All right, good morning to you. In the meantime, the tariff issue is pretty much out there. We'll see if it shows up in tonight's State of the Union address. What's the latest?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think a lot of people are wondering what is the effect of the Supreme Court ruling on tariffs and Trump saying, I can still bring out tariffs, but I'll just bring them in a different methodology. And so you're wondering, well, so what are other countries thinking who have had these tariffs put upon them? Apparently, the Bank of Montreal chief, Darrell White, he told Bloomberg News that the overall global market really has not been rattled since that Supreme Court ruling.
If you look at the market reaction, it's been pretty subdued, as we've all been talking about this morning. I think part of that is because some of the outcome that we saw over the last few days was probably priced into bond markets, so we haven't seen much of a reaction there. And if you talk to most of the corporates that we're dealing with, the reality is over the course of the last year or so, the instability and the volatility that's been brought by various decisions over the course of the last year on tariffs have become a little bit more normal course. So in the meantime, they've rebuilt supply chains or organized themselves in different ways to have resiliency in how they think about dealing to surprise or maybe not such a surprise. As the case may be, depending on the audience. So in the meantime, more stable than you might think.
Interesting.
Very interesting, because I was wondering what's the global impact of all of this since we have had tariff agreements or imposing them in the past, and now there's this 15% one across all nations. He's seeming to think it's not that big of a deal.
Well, we'll see. I'm sure he'll mention that tonight at the State of the Union address. All right, the other thing that happened yesterday, which was kind of interesting, is the president declared a National Angel Family Day honoring victims of illegal alien crime. And here's a little bit of an update on that.
Millions and millions of people from jails, millions and millions of people from countries that we don't want to know about. Drug dealers, murderers, 11,888 murderers were allowed into our country by the Biden administration. These are the angel families that we love, that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored, and I've seen it. When I first got involved with the angel families, I had a meeting. It was so sad. And they got up and spoke, and the media literally just turned off the cameras. They didn't want to hear them. It was my first glimpse as to what was happening. These are sick people that cover stories like that, or that don't cover them, which is worse. Everyone in this room not only suffered an infinite loss, they were the victims of politicians who put the comfort of foreign criminals before the safety of American citizens and American patriots. Their stories were censored and suppressed like maybe almost never before, so that the politicians could open our borders and allow our nation to be invaded. If we didn't win the election, our nation would right now be destroyed. But under the Trump administration, their suffering is forgotten no longer.
What was so interesting about that, he mentioned that they turned the cameras off. CNN and MSN, or MS Now, both refused to cover the story.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, these are people who are still suffering, and they're getting together to say, we feel the pain of each other. We don't want to see this continuing.
It's just amazing, and it just shows you the bias of journalism today, you know. And so I'm sure the president will recognize those, probably in the gallery tonight during the State of the Union address. You got to remember the last time he gave the State of the Union address, Nancy Pelosi was sitting behind him and tore up his speech.
Yeah.
I've never seen such disrespect. I mean, you can disrespect somebody. I mean, you can disagree with somebody, but to disrespect the office is something entirely different. And our own two U.S. senators from the state of Oregon will not be attending the State of the Union address. We elect these people to go there and do these things, and they've decided not to do this, and they're going to hold their own virtual town hall meeting during the same time. Pretty crazy.
Now, that's the thing that kind of bothers me is that they've been voted by you and me as voters to put them in office. and they should be there to hear whatever the president has to say, no matter what party he's from.
Right. It's just honoring the system and honoring the position. But no, they're smarter, bigger, and more arrogant. Anyway, don't get me going on that. And then your last story there?
Well, one other story. Yeah, this is an update. You remember that Rob Reiner, the movie director and producer, and his wife, Michelle, before Christmas, December 14th, were killed, murdered in their house. Well, their son, 32-year-old Nick Reiner, was in court yesterday, and he's being held without bond, so he's not going to get out before the actual case takes place, the trial. And he said that he was not guilty of those murders, though he is the only suspect at this point, and apparently was in the house when the killings occurred. So we'll be keeping you up to date. That's the latest on that.
So he pleaded not guilty, and yet he's a very disturbed gentleman. He's had a lot of problems, and wow. So we'll see where that case goes. Well, those are the top stories on this Tuesday morning. We'll take a quick break. We'll be
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
Over time, every wall tells a story, but sometimes those stories need a fresh start. At Chris Silva Painting, we specialize in transforming indoor spaces, whether it's your family home or your business workspace. With premium paints, flexible scheduling, and expert attention to detail, we make the process simple and stress-free so you can focus on what matters most, living and working in a space you love. From bold new colors to subtle tones of sophistication, let Chris Silva Painting bring your vision to life, one wall at a time. Chris and his crew are courteous, they're efficient, organized, timely, and clean. Chris Silva Painting also offers military discounts. At Chris Silva Painting, our mission statement is to bring Christ's heart and principles to our customers and our job sites. We do that with honesty, integrity, and hard work. We don't cut corners, we paint them. CCB number 176097. Chris Silva Painting, 541-890-3960. 541-890-3960.
It was an amazing year of growth here at theDove. You, our viewers and partners, blessed us. With a new studio, a video wall, control room, and much needed installation, heating and air conditioning, plus you helped us renew our tower leases. So we can continue to broadcast theDove all across our network. And from everyone here at theDove, a huge thank you. We could have never done this without your help. We appreciate you standing with theDove prayerfully and financially to keep theDove encouraging and informative 24 hours a day.
Well, welcome back, and Steve Johnson from Tucson this morning, where it's sunny down there.
It is.
Rainy up.
The sun is coming up now.
There you go. All right. Little Oregon news. Our special session is in session right now. They will be for about another week or so. So on the even years, they go into session for about 35 days. On the odd years, they go to a full session. And, of course, the big deal is the governor tried to pass this gas tax deal, all under the disguise of trying to save ODOT from $350 million shortfall. So they solved it with a $4.3 billion tax, which 6% or 6 cents on the gallon of gas. Well, the citizens rose up in the set and said, no way, we're not doing this. And a long story short, they gathered enough signatures, even with all the delays, to make a referendum, a citizens referendum, and she backed away from it. So it will be on the ballot. It's supposed to be on the November ballot on the general election. She's trying to move it to the May ballot during the primary election because notoriously, or most of the time, the primary turnout is much lower than the general election. Well, yesterday, the Democrats in the Senate did pass it, but it wasn't by much. It was 17-13. And now it goes over to the House, and the House Republicans are expected to really delay this. I suspect it will pass, but maybe not. When I saw the margins in the Senate, I go, wow, not everybody's on board with this. And I think most Democrats are realizing this is such a bad deal, it could cost them their election. So it becomes a little bit shakier when they move it over to the House. We'll see how that develops. But the bottom line is, it did get through the Senate yesterday. We'll see if it gets through the House. The only thing I can say to our citizens listening in the state of Oregon and watching in the state of Oregon, if we were able to get out a record number of signatures in less than 35 days, which we should have had 90, but the governor kept fooling around with it and got it down to where we only had about 35 days or so. If we were able to do that, then we're able to turn out in May and stop this thing, and we need to do that. So this is such a motivator. This is the crack in the proverbial concrete of the blue wall in Oregon, and hopefully we can finish the job, whether it's in May or in November. We'll keep you posted on that.
Now, all right, when you said that you think it's going to pass, you think it's going to pass in the legislature, not necessarily with voters, right?
Well, see, what they're trying to do is move the citizens voting on it from November back to May, or up to May, and take it from the general election and move it to the primary, or to the the primary election, which is normally a lower turnout. And that's what
I've even heard some Democrats in the legislature are saying, we don't think this is going to pass voters, but they're floating it anyway.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. This is really bad. It blew up in their face, and rightfully so. I mean, how do you take an agency that can't account for a $350 million shortfall in their budget, so they needed to be audited, and you come up with a $4.3 billion tax to solve the problem? That's really stupid. And it just shows you how political some of this stuff is. But the citizens figured it out, which to me is a good sign. So we'll see how it works out. All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's happening on the weather scene out there today. And we do have a good system coming offshore. It's now impacting parts of Northern California all the way up through Oregon and Washington, and then kind of goes on out towards Idaho as well. So this is a good system. It's producing a lot of weather, a lot of rain. It is very warm, and we'll have to wait and see if there's any snow at the higher elevations. But right now, the lower elevations are well into the 50s for temperatures. So there you go.
Yeah, it's like you ordered the rain, and it is coming.
There you go.
There you go. Well, you know, we've been talking a little bit about this whole tariff thing, that the Supreme Court kind of axed the one plan that the Trump administration had put in play, and then Donald Trump comes out. It was like 45 minutes after the ruling and said, well, I can do it with 3 other rulings that have taken place that Congress has passed. I can continue the tariffs. Well, Wall Street editor-in-chief Emma Tucker talked with Fox Business Maria Bartiromo, and it had to do with the whole tariff thing. And she kind of says, you know what? Tariffs are really going to be going nowhere.
Well, I think it's clear that tariffs in whatever form aren't going to go anywhere, because they have been the defining factor, if you like, one of the key defining factors of this presidency. And President Trump loves tariffs. He's not going to back down just because of this court ruling last week. But I think for us, covering, American business, I think we need to spare a thought for the incredible uncertainty that's now afflicting business and companies across the U.S. who are having to make these sort of long-term planning decisions in an atmosphere of really not knowing which way we're headed. So I think it's clear that the president is going to try and find a new avenue for reimposing tariffs, even after this 122 section expires in 150 days. But I think the difficulty for businesses is they don't know what that new regime is going to look like, what's going to replace it. And then as well, they don't know what kind of refunds, if any, they're likely to get from the fact that the court ruled the tariffs so far illegal. But I think what's going to happen is that in order to keep tariffs imposed, the president's going to have to make a much clearer economic argument as to why he wants to do this. Also, if he wants to extend 122, he's going to have to get approval from Congress. So it could be that going forward, we get a much more sort of ordered regime around tariffs, which has got more of a sort of economic justification to it.
Well, I guess we have to wait and see how it plays out. The unknown has got people scared. I will say that.
And Wall Street too. You saw how it took a dive.
Yeah, it's the unknown. But isn't it interesting? Why hasn't this ever been addressed before? Why did we have all these inequities in trade and called it okay? You know,
Until you have a president who says it's got to change, it'll stay the same.
Well, we'll see what happens and see what he does tonight. You know, it's going to be an interesting room tonight to see who shows up. You know, normally the Democrats all dressed in the same color. You think they'll do it again tonight?
Well, I don't know. There's going to be so few of them. I have a feeling you'll see more hockey players than you will see Democrats in Congress that'll be there. Maybe they'll wear their jerseys after winning the gold. Men's hockey team.
They should. Yeah, they should. You know, I do want to say one thing. I think that it's time for the President of the United States during a State of the Union address to use video in his speech.
Oh, what would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to see an LED wall like this in the chamber where he could actually push a button, put things up there, and show. Because when he held up the tariff chart at the very beginning of this, we got it because we could see it. We could see what China was doing and what we were doing. We could see what the UK was doing and what we're doing. But we live in a high-tech world. Let's put a video, temporary video screen in the chamber and let the president do almost a slideshow for his State of the Union address. It would be very impacting.
Wow. Well, somebody's got to do it. I wouldn't doubt that Trump would be the first to. Maybe he'll do that. If not tonight, next year.
But maybe he could, put up there his favorite. Well, he doesn't drink coffee, does he?
I don't know. I've never seen him drink coffee. I've never seen him drink anything. I don't know.
Well, he doesn't drink alcohol. We know that.
Right.
But I don't know if he drinks, does he drink? Oh, he does. He drinks Diet Coke.
Ah, okay.
He likes Coke. I don't even know if it's diet, so I don't. To look at him, it's not diet.
Wow.
All right. Excuse me. We'll take a quick break.
The Pregnancy Center in Medford is a place of hope, providing free pregnancy testing, ultrasounds, options counseling, and support to help women make informed, empowered choices. The Pregnancy Center is growing, hiring registered nurses to join our compassionate team. Work in a supportive environment where you can truly make a difference. No ultrasound experience? No problem. We'll train you in limited ultrasonography, a valuable new skill set for your career. To learn more, visit thepregnancycenter.us. Thepregnancycenter.us.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary, sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare, where your loved one can spend the day with us, and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living. Your home.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Welcome back, half past the hour. Steve Johnson and yours truly here this morning. This next couple of stories is really interesting. The first one, we checked in with CBN News this morning. Julie Stahl is reporting on the talks in Iran, or with Iran in Geneva. They don't seem to be going too well as we continue to build up, but we don't know. Now, I have a special guest coming on a little bit later on, Kenneth Abramowitz, and he'll be able to comment on this directly, so we'll see what happens. And then the second part of this story is really, really interesting. Tucker Carlson interviews Ambassador Mike Huckabee. And what's interesting about this, he does do a gotcha question to Mike Huckabee. And when you see this, it's pretty interesting, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. But let's start with Julie Stahl.
U.S. Special Envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are due to meet with Iran's foreign minister for a third round of talks in Geneva, Switzerland on Thursday. Witkoff says President Trump is puzzled that Iran hasn't already agreed to a deal.
Why under this sort of pressure with the amount of sea power, naval power that we have over there, why they haven't come to us and said, we profess that we don't want a weapon, so here's what we're prepared to do, and yet it's hard to sort of get them to that place.
With massive U.S. firepower in the region, President Trump is said to be considering preliminary limited military strikes to force Iran into an agreement. Israel is on its highest alert as it prepares for Iranian retaliation if the U.S. attacks Iran. In recent days, the IDF striking Hezbollah targets in Lebanon as the Iranian proxy would likely join the fight. Iran's president says the government will not yield to external pressure. The state news agency reports student protests at several universities following memorials for those killed in the January protests. Visiting U.S. Congressman Andy Ogles told CBN News in Jerusalem that regime change needs to be organic.
What we've seen over the last few weeks is that the Persian people, the people of Iran, want change. They want their country back. And so I think there's the opportunity for the United States to create that window for the Persian people to, assume their own destiny. But it has to be from the Persian people, the people of Iran. No American boots on the ground.
Ogles says the change would revolutionize Iran, the Middle East, and even the world.
They've destabilized regions all over, countries all over the world, and it'll be a huge shift, and quite frankly, opens up the opportunity, at least, for peace globally once Iran is no longer in the picture, and quite frankly, their global network of terror.
On the sidelines, Arab and Muslim nations condemned U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee's comment about the Middle East in an interview with Tucker Carlson last week. Carlson quoted from Genesis chapter 15 and asked Huckabee if Israel has a right to all that land. In part, Huckabee responded, it would be fine if they took it all. But the U.S. Embassy later pointed out it was taken out of context. Huckabee continued,
they're not asking to go back to take all of that, but they are asking to at least take the land that they now occupy, they now live in, they now own legitimately, and it is a safe haven for them.
He also said Israel isn't trying to take over Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, or Iraq, just trying to protect itself. U.S. Congressman Scott Perry, who is visiting Israel for the first time, told CBN News that the situation is complicated and it's important to see the facts on the ground.
A lot of people really don't fully understand what the people of Israel deal with on a daily basis, how close your adversaries are, and tactically the advantages they have based on terrain. All those kind of things are important for policymakers to know viscerally.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, all Ambassador Huckabee was doing was responding to what I consider a setup question. What's the grant? What's the promise to Abraham in the book of Genesis? And how broad is that geography? And when you read it, it's enormous. But that's not the situation on the ground in modern Israel today, and that's what he correctly pointed out. Here's the facts on the ground. The UN, under the mandate from the League of Nations, under the mandate that was granted to the UK after World War I, they continued that, and they called for a partition of Palestine into Israel and to a Palestinian state. What did the Palestinians do? What did the other Arab nations do to help their Arab brothers living there? Well, they declared war. And who won that war? Israel won that war. In the 1950s, they declared war again. There was another one. They lost that war. In 1967, there was another one. They lost that war. In 1973, there was another one. They lost that war. In all of that time, Israel kept offering them a Palestinian state. David Ben-Gurion famously offered them everything, including the Temple Mount, which was inconceivable, but he did it for the sake of peace. In every one of those opportunities, they never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. They had plenty of time to create their own state. They had plenty of time for peace. They had plenty of time to recognize what the UN had recognized, that the Jewish people belong in their ancestral homeland. They've refused to do it, and that's why you still hear the call from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Let us not join with that. They are clearly the aggressors.
Well, pretty well explained there. The interesting thing about Tucker Carlson, if you looked at that interview, he quoted out of Genesis. And which is interesting to me, if God said that that land was theirs, it's theirs. But in today's reality, they don't have that land. They don't occupy it. They're just trying to defend what little land they have left. You may have to read one of the books written by Dr. David Jeremiah about end times, where he points out the original real estate contract between God and Israel. And today, Israel is less than 1/3 of what God said would be their land. And so if it's in the Bible and what their real estate contract was supposed to be and where the borderlines were supposed to be, that's what God intended for them. But they're not there today. Today they're less than that. And the only thing they're asking to do is leave us alone and let us have what we do have. But according to Gordon Robertson there, with all the attempts of war of attacking Israel, these recent barrage of attacks is just additional efforts to wipe them off the face of the map. And we need to realize that. I don't know what's happened to Tucker Carlson. He has flipped completely on this Israel issue. He is totally anti-Semitic. And the question is why? What got into his head that would cause him to think this way? But that's where he is today.
Well, the interesting thing, as you pointed out, is that Israel was much bigger. In one of my Bibles that I had when I was growing up, they had a picture of the state of Israel back then, 2,500 years ago, far larger than it is now, like you said. And this is why when people start saying, well, we need a two-state Israel, and we need to carve up Israel even more, there's not that much to carve up.
No.
So when you look at the real estate, it really doesn't make much sense for a country who's trying to secure its borders to give away even more of the small amount that they already have.
The two-state solution, I believe, is permanently off the table. And the question is, what now? We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's check out the weather, brought to you by Grange Co-op. We got a lot going on in the weather scene, primarily rain everywhere. Northern Oregon, Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, McMinnville, all with rain showers, temperatures upper 40s, around 50 degrees. It's just slipping into the Willamette Valley, Salem, Albany, Corvallis, Eugene, again, all with heavy rain throughout the day, temperatures in the upper 40s to the mid 50s. And then in Central Oregon, you'll see some rain out that way, but a little bit milder temperatures, 56 in Prineville, 52 in Bend, Sun River 48, and on out to Boise 50 degrees, all with scattered showers today. The Oregon coast looking for, again, rain, mild temperatures, upper 50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City. Temperatures well in the upper 50s today with rain. Southern Oregon, we've had, excuse me, some very heavy rain here this morning already. Grants Pass, Medford, Ashland, and Klamath Falls, all in the mid to upper 50s with scattered showers and heavy rain at times. Northern California, Wairika, rain, 50 to 4 degrees. And then into California, Redding and Chico, upper 50s. Down around Sacramento in the metro area there, continued rain showers, temperatures around 60 degrees. The Bay Area, rain. Santa Rosa, 59. Napa, 60. In the city of San Francisco, 63 with rain. And rain is likely in San Jose, with a temperature high of about 66 degrees. And that's your weather brought to you by Grange Co-op. And we got beautiful clouds out over the top of us. They are producing some showers this morning, so there's a picture of our backyard going on. So drive carefully out there, pretty slick.
Well, we've got some interesting things that have happened this day in history. You know, over the years, we've had a change in our calendar, and I think this is the most recent one, where Pope Gregory VIII apparently had a lot of power because he could change a calendar, and so he did. The Gregorian calendar, Gregorian, there you go. This was 1582. I don't want anyone to change a calendar anymore. I think we're done with that pretty much. You know, we think of all the impeachments that go on. We go, this is ridiculous. This really is trend setting, and perhaps some people think it's never happened in American history, but it has. On this date, 1868, the House of Representatives voted 126 to 47. That was pretty commanding, to impeach President Andrew Johnson. So it wasn't a good day for him.
No.
I wondered, did he have a State of the Union speech coming up just days later? I don't know what the schedule was for all of that. This is also the date when Fidel Castro retired as a president of Cuba. He had ill health. You know, this was in 2008. How many years was he in power? Do you remember, Perry?
Oh, gosh. 30?
50.
50.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
It's just rather astounding. Well, every day we find out we have fewer people who are really a part of World War II because they're dying off. I mean, that happened a long time ago now. But this clip from the American Veterans Center, World War II veteran Vincent Speranza, that is, shared his first return to Belgium since World War II.
I meet a lady in a shop who has an accent, and when I said, Madame, do I know the French accent? She said, no, Belgique. I said, oh, Belgium. She said, yes, do you know Belgium? I said, yeah, bombs, bullets, and snow. That's what I know about Belgium. And she said, oh, you were there during the war? I said, yes. She said, with the 101st Airborne Division? I said, yes. She said, you have not been back. I said, no, I don't want to go back. She said, Monsieur, you must go back. The people of Bastogne have never forgotten the 101st Airborne Division. There are monuments to you all over town. There is dinners and celebrations. Every year, all the men and women of the town put on American uniforms with the Screaming Eagle patch. They reenact the battle and so on and so on. My daughter was in there. I still said, nah, I don't want to go back. She said, Papa, if nothing else, we should go back to the cemetery where your guys are buried and maybe pay our respects. And my agreeing to that decision is what started the whole. While I was there, I met a big Dutch paratroop officer who showed me where we were dug in during the war, my foxhole, and all the events that I had put back here hit me in the face. I even heard the artillery again, but it shook me up. I had a nice, complacent life as an educator, so all of a sudden, this stuff comes back, and I realized that as a good American citizen and as a good soldier, I still have an obligation to remind young Americans, hey, my friends, freedom is not free. Somebody has to pay the price, and all of us have to be prepared to pay the price at any time.
Wow. What a story. All right. Let's talk about, Sam excuse me, I'm sorry, Sam Alberry, who's with Crossway, which is a great apologetics organization, shares the Bible's go-to language for what we call Christian. And here's what he had to say.
One of the things that surprised me the most when I began to think through this whole issue is how little the Bible uses the language of being a Christian. That's our go-to terminology. If you're a follower of Jesus, you're a Christian. The religion is Christianity. And yet that the word Christian appears, I think, only 2 or 3 times in the New Testament. The first time as a sort of nickname for the early believers. Instead, the Bible's go-to language for what we call Christian is being in Christ. John uses that language, I think, 36 times. Paul uses it close to 300 times. The language of being in him, in Jesus, or him being in us, that union language is the Bible's default terminology for what we mean by being Christian, which I don't think is insignificant, because the primary terminology we use reflects how we conceive our Christian life to be. And if the Bible's main terminology is to do with our union with Jesus, then we're likely to miss something if that concept isn't in our own terminology. If our own language is merely, I'm a Christian, I follow Christianity, we might miss that whole dimension that the Bible is foregrounding. And so it's good for me to remember that being a Christian isn't just that I'm following Jesus as if he's at the other end of the universe and I'm trying to catch up to him. No, I'm in Christ. I could not be closer to him spiritually. When Jesus, at the end of Matthew's Gospel, said, "Surely I am with you always to the very end of the age," this is how. Because he's spiritually with us through our union with him. So I still use the term Christian. It's hard not to, but I also want to just make sure I'm being more intentional about using the language of that union to describe what it means to be a Christian, so that hopefully that concept doesn't slide out of our consciousness, because if it does, we will miss so many of the rich things that come with our union with Jesus.
Wow, that's encouraging. Good stuff all the way around. All right, we'll take a quick break. No banana bread today, but I guess we have chips and salsa and guacamole.
That would be good.
You're in the heart of that down there.
It's tortilla day. You bet.
Okay, we'll be right back.
The Son of God, I trust in Jesus, blessed Redeemer, my Lord forever, the Holy.
It's time to play Who's Got the Oldest Furnace for your chance to win a brand new Dave Lennox Signature Collection furnace and thermostat from Metal Masters. It's easy to play. If you think you've got an old furnace, call us to schedule an appointment with a home comfort consultant by November 20th. A winner will be selected by December 4th. For details, call Metal Masters, your local Lennox dealer. In Medford, call 779-1049. In Klamath Falls, call 883-3237. Or visit us online at metalmasters-inc.com. Committed to your comfort since 1968, we're Metal Masters. License number CCB 529.
Heavenly Father, I just want to say thank you today. I don't want to pray just when I need something or when things aren't going my way. I need you all the time, no matter what is going on, and I just want to say thank you. Even though things aren't perfect, you are, and your plan for me is. Thank you for your grace, for your mercy, for your unconditional love for me. And most of all, thank you for sending your son Jesus to die for my sins to prove that unconditional love. That even while I was a sinner, he died for me. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Twin Factor is brought to you on the Dove TV by Black Flag Armory. Firearms, gunsmithing, training, and the best prices in Southern Oregon. Twin Factor, weekends on the Dove TV.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Okay, welcome back. 10 minutes before the hour. I can tell you that messaging in a political season is everything. When you talk to a candidate, you want to know, what's your message? You know, what are you standing for? What are you all about? Yesterday, I had Brent Hamaker on. Now, Brent has been around for a long time. He does seminars and speaks at conventions all over the place. And he's quite the author, best-selling author, New York Times. And part of his company deals with, are you saying the right thing in the context of the culture? And I asked him, how does he find the right message in today's culture? And here's what he had to say.
That if you survey the American people, I suspect somewhere around 90% of them would say that they think that the political rhetoric and the atmosphere today is too divisive and unhealthy. You get 10% that would actually admit that they liked it. The problem is with the 90% that said they didn't, their behavior indicates otherwise. So they subscribe to sites that are filled with what I call red meat opinion. They follow influencers who peddle and deal in just mindless sort of hatred and, sort of idiomatic expressions and clever memes. There's no depth to it. I would argue that close to 100% of the people that call themselves influencers need to be influenced otherwise. So we have a problem between what people say they want because they know it's the right thing to say versus what it is they tend to consume, which is really divisive, hateful, and polarized rhetoric. And we have turned this country into something where every single thing that happens becomes binary. You're for or against. You hate or you love. So in terms of messaging, what I would suggest is a good policy for a politician to try to follow would be to try to catch the attention of what is inside that 90% who say that they want something that is sort of more civic-minded and engaging and positive. Try to reach them by actually doing it. And try not to hate on your neighbor. Try instead to offer constructive thoughts and ideas. And by the way, be prepared to fail initially because people aren't used to it. But somebody's got to try. And I suspect that sooner or later, with the right politicians doing it the right way, that they will start to break through to people and have people say, I like this. I'm not used to it, but I like it. And it seems to be something I was looking for in the first place. So do better in your messaging, politicians. Get out of the gutter where virtually all of them live, and stop trying to divide people into bits of binary 0 and 1 code, and try to start getting them to think again and engage constructively. And Mr. Politician, Mrs. Politician, it starts with you.
Pretty interesting. We used to call that statesmanship.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is today. I'm going to have Tom Del Barcaro back on with us. He's a former chairman of the Republican Party in California. California is in a mess, and what's the future? And Gavin Newsom, the governor there, is certainly wanting to become president of the United States. But did he do an irreparable damage of a speech that he gave the other day? And then Kenneth Abramowitz will be back with us. And if there's anybody that understands the Middle East, he does, and we look forward to talking to him. So
that sounds good.
All right. So, Dr. Anthony George?
Oh, yeah, we can talk about what he said. That's a fascinating thing. Remember Valentine's Day? Seems so far in the past. Hopefully you did something special with that special someone. I had heard about this, and I couldn't believe it. Now we have AI dates, apparently.
Dates.
Yes.
Valentine's.
Artificial yes, dates for Valentine's Day. And Dr. Anthony George talked about a New York cafe that I also heard about that was offering these Valentine dinners for people and their AI dates.
So once we have a renewed mind and we are growing in our ability to think logically instead of inconsistently, or I would even say erratically and nonsensically, we begin to recognize what is illogical, what is inconsistent, and what is internally contradictory. So that means when you are a logical thinker and you hear about the restaurant in New York City that opened last night to provide a Valentine's date at a table with a meal with a chat box robot. Now, It's one thing that they offered it, it's another thing that they sold out on reservations. You have to go have a date with an artificially intelligent chat box. Have you lost your mind? So, you know what? There's one thing to be artificially intelligent. There's another thing to be willfully unintelligent, and that's what that is. Not only that, but I just saw a news story last week that in China they have made a robot powered by artificial intelligence that will simulate a human body temperature, and they've created a flesh covering, which means now humans are going to be dating robots and probably other things unmentionable that we wouldn't even want to talk about. Remember the...
Okay. Well, there you go, Steve.
Crazy stuff going on.
I don't know.
An AI date.
Avatars alive and well, huh?
Becoming more so.
Yeah.
They're becoming more human looking, aren't they?
There you go. Take with you Psalm 23, verse 4. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, or better known as the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, and your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Take that with you today. 23rd Psalm.
Is enough to light up the darkness? It's your love, your love. All I ever needed is your love.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
Ministries on the Move spotlights how God is using everyday people and organizations to bring light, love, and transformation to others through inspiring conversations and real-life stories. Join me Tuesdays and Thursdays right here on theDove TV.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
Tuesday.
Sometimes we go through the crushing. Sometimes we go through the brokenness.
A master craftsman.
That sounds dangerous. It was fun.
Whose clients include the top chefs in the world.
They asked the guy, like, why you allow this N-word to come to your house?
How this knife maker made history.
Because you may have a perceived notion of who you may think I am. Dang, I gotta fight this.
Tuesday on the 700 Club, right here on theDove TV.
What an amazing year of growth last year for theDove. You, our viewers and partners, blessed us with a new studio, a video wall to create sets for new local programming, a state-of-the-art control room, and much-needed insulation along with heating and air conditioning. Plus, you helped us renew many tower leases, so we can continue to bring you theDove all across our network and a brand new full-power TV station. And from everyone here at theDove, a huge thank you. We could have never done this without you. Your prayers and support is allowing theDove to bring the gospel, encouragement, and information to millions more people needing the hope of Christ worldwide. We appreciate you standing with theDove prayerfully and financially in our mission to reach people with the good news via television, radio, and streaming online. Thank you for your continued faithful support in keeping theDove encouraging and informative 24 hours a day.
theDove TV streams worldwide on Roku and Apple TV, plus online at thedove.us. The world has a view, but God has the vision. With Alveda King and Women of Faith, Tuesday at 8:30 on theDove TV. Good morning. You're tuned to theDove, encouraging and informative, helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on theDove.
And good morning to you. Welcome to Mornings on theDove. I am me. And over there is Steve, right there, somewhere.
Hey, I'm
There
right
he is.
here.
There he is.
Good to be here with you.
All right, good morning. Steve Johnson, live from Tucson, Arizona this morning with his Dove mug. And he's caffeinated up and ready to go.
I am.
All right, good morning to you. A lot going on in the news, there always is. And we just got a ton of rain here. You got sunshine. We've had 24 hours of pretty heavy rain. So we need it. We're not complaining. But your sunshine, I think the Northeast would like to have some of your warm weather.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that some of the Northeast would like to have anybody else's weather at this point. Because they're expecting, I think it's 2,000 more delays. In addition to like the 10,000 they had yesterday for air flights.
Yep.
It's still a problem there.
And the residual of that across the country is really a headache. All right, well, we got all that for you going on. A lot in the news. We'll keep you updated on that. Anything special today?
Well, a couple things. Did you ever collect anything when you were young?
Money.
Did you?
No. Yeah.
You and Donald Trump, huh?
No. Let's see. What did I collect? Yeah, I had a few things. Yeah.
Well, did you collect any kind of trading cards of any kind?
No, I wasn't. No.
My brother collected baseball cards.
Oh yeah.
And years later, he found out he had some valuable ones. He didn't have. I guess the most expensive is still a Honus Wagner card. That thing is worth, well, I don't know how much it's worth. I think it is the most valuable baseball card you can get, though. The story, do you want to know the story behind that? It's a trading card that came with boxes of tobacco. So we're talking about the 1920s. But Honus said, I don't like the idea that you're using my cards to sell tobacco. So they pulled them. As a result, the few that were in circulation have become extremely valuable.
Wow.
And they look a little bit smaller and a little less sophisticated than the later baseball trading cards. So that's kind of how that happened. There's my knowledge about Honus Wagner cards. It is National Trading Card Day. So if you have one, then you need to give it to me.
So how much is that card worth? How much is that
Well,
card?
I was gonna say I'm trying to remember what I've seen them. I think it's in the $1 million range. I mean, there's so few of them because they pulled them from manufacturing. And of course, supply and demand and all of that happens. Something we all can afford, though, it is National Tortilla Chip Day.
Ooh.
So you can get whatever salsa you want. I like the mild kind that has a lot of flavor, but isn't real spicy. Some people just like super hot sauce and that kind of thing. That's fine.
That's Jerry.
Yeah, it would be Jerry. You can also get guacamole and sour cream. Oh, baby. That just makes the tortilla chip a delivery piece for the salsa and the guacamole. So that's what it is today.
So we got salsa, guacamole, and chips.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff all the way around. All right, good morning to you. Well, we have a lot of rain, and so let's check it out throughout the Pacific Northwest, brought to you by Grange Co-op. We got a lot going on in the weather scene, primarily rain everywhere. Northern Oregon, Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, McMinnville, all with rain showers, temperatures upper 40s, around 50 degrees. It's just slipping into the Willamette Valley, Salem, Albany, Corvallis, Eugene, again, all with heavy rain throughout the day, temperatures in the upper 40s to the mid 50s. And then in Central Oregon, you'll see some rain out that way, but a little bit milder temperatures, 56 in Prineville, 52 in Bend, Sun River 48, and on out to Boise 50 degrees, all with scattered showers today. The Oregon coast looking for, again, rain, mild temperatures, upper 50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City. Temperatures well into the upper 50s today with rain. Southern Oregon, we've had, some very heavy rain here this morning already. Grants Pass, Medford, Ashland, and Klamath Falls, all in the mid to upper 50s with scattered showers and heavy rain at times. Northern California, Wairika, rain, 50 to 4 degrees. And then into California, Redding and Chico, upper 50s. Down around Sacramento in the metro area there, continued rain showers, temperatures around 60 degrees. The Bay Area, rain. Santa Rosa, 59. Napa, 60. In the city of San Francisco, 63 with rain. And rain is likely in San Jose with a temperature high of about 66 degrees. And that's your weather, brought to you by Grange Co-op. And there's a picture of our valley. We do have some low clouds, but it is raining pretty heavily out there as we speak. So drive carefully out there this morning.
You know, some people seem to get through tough things in life without a problem. Other people fall apart, it seems like, at a moment's notice. You wonder, how does this work out? Why do some people, they're able to weather all the physical or emotional maladies that kind of face them? Well, Greg Laurie, who's a pastor, if you've heard him before, he encourages us to look at our circumstances through what Scripture says and not our emotions.
You look at your circumstances in the light of what God says. You don't look at God in light of what you're going through. You try to pull the camera back, so to speak, and get the bigger picture, and remember that Romans 8:28 is still in the Bible. Quick, someone check. Is it still there? It is? Good. Do you know what Romans 8:28 says? Let's say it together. And we know that all things work together for good to those that love God and are the called according to his purpose. I love that verse. We know, it says, it doesn't say we think or we hope if God's in a good mood, maybe. No, we know. We know that all things, it doesn't say some things. The Bible says all things are your servants. We know with confidence all things work together for good. Now, that doesn't say we know all things will become good. Sometimes we may think, well, this bad thing happened, but it will turn into a good thing because Romans 8:28 says all things work together for good. Yeah, but that's not what it says. They'll work together for good. There are certain things in life that will happen to us that are bad things. There'll always be bad things. They'll never cease to be a bad thing. But despite that bad thing, God brought something good out of it.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's take a look at some of the top headlines this morning. And what's happening in Mexico is pretty amazing, what we have going on down there. And ever since the leader of the cartel was killed over the weekend, just about every state in Mexico has had some kind of a terrorist breakout, burning in the streets. Actually, some killing is going on. They have even entered some of the airports. So they burned up a plane. One of the main targets has been buses in some of the main cities, primarily because buses are the main means of transportation for the citizens to get around. This is the cartel just responding to the death of the head of the cartel. And a lot of tourists now are trapped. And just the other day, the government of Mexico confirmed that 25 Mexican National Guardsmen, one prison guard, and an innocent woman died in a series of what they call terror-style attacks in direct responding to the killing of the cartel leader. So this is going on. People are being pulled out of their cars. The cars are being hijacked. It's a crisis moment down there. And a lot of the people who are there on vacation, especially down around Puerto Vallarta, they say that that town now is basically shut down. And one of the citizens, the tourist, Diane Hicks Webb, she's tells Fox 2, went down there on vacation and now she's dealing with, well, here's what she had to say.
We're just kind of staying here and, keeping to ourselves. We've talked to a lot of people that were supposed to leave yesterday and weren't able to. So, they're having to deal with trying to extend their stay and all of that. So it's a little scary. Everything that we had planned to do has been canceled, the shows and that sort of thing. So there's not much to do because everything's closed.
So the question is, can these Americans get out? Some of the cruise ships have been pushed offshore, and now it leads up to the airport. The airport is open, then it's closed, but it's very dangerous. It's not a good situation in Mexico. We'll keep an eye on it, but that's what's going on down there. So in the meantime, one of the biggest national stories is right there in your own backyard, Steve.
Yeah, Nancy Guthrie, the search goes on after a month of her missing, and people are wondering what has happened to her. A lot of people who've been searching for her have been told, don't go out and try to hunt for evidence because that could compromise what police are trying to do, but they have no suspects yet. They do have possibly another video ring image that is different from the one they had before. Now, we don't know if that was taken on the same day or if that was different days. The police are not saying that, but there is one indication that it could have been a Ring camera image that was off of a different day. The person seemed to be wearing different shoes. Or was this just simply another person on the same day? A lot of questions. There's more questions than answers to all of this, but that's really the latest as the search continues.
So it kind of suggests that maybe Nancy Guthrie was being stalked. You know?
Well, see, that opens up that question, doesn't it? If it was on multiple days, we just don't know it yet.
And the whole issue around the camera, and they were able to capture this video, is pretty interesting because apparently she didn't pay the bill that would have sent it to her computer, so to speak, but this was video that was locked inside the camera itself, mounted outside. And who would know forensically how to go get that?
And it took them a long time because they had to surgically, from an electronic way, go through it all and try to piece all of this together. So I'm sure that was much more difficult than it would have been, as you mentioned, if she had had a subscription that was up to date.
Wow. All right, in the meantime, tariffs being what they are, as you know, the Supreme Court supposedly voted down the president's tariffs policy, but he saw it as an open door to come back into another interpretation of that. Where is this going internationally?
That's right. Well, the Bank of Montreal chief was asked because we are wondering what is the view globally on all of this. His name is Daryl White. He told Bloomberg News that the overall the global market really hasn't been rattled since that Supreme Court ruling on Friday.
If you look at the market reaction, it's been pretty subdued, as we've all been talking about this morning. I think part of that is because some of the outcome that we saw over the last few days was probably priced into bond markets, so we haven't seen much of a reaction there. And if you talk to most of the corporates that we're dealing with, the reality is over the course of the last year or so, the instability and the volatility that's been brought by various decisions over the course of the last year on tariffs have become a little bit more normal course. So in the meantime, they've rebuilt supply chains or organized themselves in different ways to have resiliency in how they think about dealing to surprise or maybe not such a surprise. As the case may be, depending on the audience. So in the meantime, more stable than you might think.
That is interesting. So I guess everybody's waiting to see how this plays out. Who knows? We'll have to see how it goes. In the meantime, the president has declared yesterday the National Angel Family Day. Now, this is a big deal. This has to do with honoring victims of illegal aliens as a result of crime. And yesterday he spoke about this. And by the way, I would imagine he's going to mention this tonight in his State of the Union address. Here's the president.
Millions and millions of people from jails, millions and millions of people from countries that we don't want to know about. Drug dealers, murderers, 11,888 murderers were allowed into our country by the Biden administration. These are the angel families that we love, that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored, and I've seen it. When I first got involved with the angel families, I had a meeting. It was so sad. And they got up and spoke, and the media literally just turned off the cameras. They didn't want to hear them. It was my first glimpse as to what was happening. These are sick people that cover stories like that, or that don't cover them, which is worse. Everyone in this room not only suffered an infinite loss, they were the victims of politicians who put the comfort of foreign criminals before the safety of American citizens and American patriots. Their stories were censored and suppressed like maybe almost never before, so that the politicians could open our borders and allow our nation to be invaded. If we didn't win the election, our nation would right now be destroyed. But under the Trump administration, their suffering is forgotten no longer.
Well, I would suspect they're going to be in the gallery tonight. At least a few of those families will be in the gallery tonight during the State of the Union address. But he did mention that CNN and MS Now both did not cover the news conference. They literally turned their cameras off.
Yeah. That was his first instance, from what he said, as to how the media covers news stories or doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. So
Well, yesterday was a significant day also as Rob Reiner, the movie director, and his wife's case goes to court because they were murdered in their beds on December 14th. Their son, 32-year-old Nick Reiner, has been held as a suspect, and yesterday he went to court and pled not guilty. So it moves the case forward as this case continues, as he is the only one being charged with their murder. And we'll keep you up to date. That's the latest.
wow. So it'll drag out for weeks to come.
I would imagine.
Yeah. All right, those are some of the top stories on this Tuesday morning. Drive carefully, at least in our area in the Pacific Northwest. Some pretty heavy rain out there. We'll take a chips, salsa, and guacamole break.
That'd be good.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
The Dove is shining with a brand new show, Season to Shine.
I'm Melinda Robertson, host of Season to Shine, a new heartfelt, inspiring program for women designed to bring encouragement, wisdom, and hope into your everyday life. We'll help you discover God's purpose in every season, empowering you to shine with confidence, faith, and joy. It's your season to shine. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 4 p.m. on the Dove TV. More at thedove.us.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary, sunlit interiors meet old-world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare, where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living. Your home.
Welcome back. 18 minutes now past the hour on this Tuesday morning. A lot of rain outside. Beautiful weather down there in Tucson, where Steve is. Some backyard news. Our Oregon legislature is in what they call the short session. On the even years, they're in session in February for about 35 days or so. On the odd years, they're in session for a full session. And one of the bills that has popped up was to move the citizens' referendum to stop the governor from hiking our gas tax from 40 cents to 46 cents, to move that referendum from the November ballot in 2026 to the May primary ballot coming up in a couple of months. The reason for her wanting to do this is because usually the turnout in a primary election is much smaller than it is in a general election, hoping that somehow that this citizens' referendum would just go away. Well, it's not the case, and it's there very much, and you got to remember how this all came about, and I don't need to explain this now. But yesterday, the Senate, Oregon Senate did vote on it, Senate Bill 1599, and it got out of the Senate 17-13. So the margin was a whole lot smaller than I thought, and it now will go over to the House probably by tomorrow. And we'll see if the House will approve this or not. There's a high, well, let me put it this way. There's a possibility that it won't get approved in the House because so many of those House legislators are up for re-election, and they got to go back and campaign in favor of raising your gas tax 6 cents. So there's a possibility it may not pass the House. Who knows? But if it does, then that means that the citizens' referendum bill would be moved from November to May. And if that happens, we will be riding that horse pretty hard to make sure we have one of the largest turnouts in a May primary that we've ever had. But it did get through yesterday, and we'll keep an eye on it now as it heads over to the House. So that's some of the backyard news. All right, let's take a look at Wall Street for a Tuesday morning. Let's see what's going on there. Thank you, Preston, at Smart Lawn. If you're smart, you'll call them. Well, the Dow's up 165 today at 48,969, so it's coming back up. The Nas is up 37, almost 38, and the S&P is up 3.8, almost 4 points this morning. Let's see what that's done to gold. It's still gone down a little bit, but still at $5,152 an ounce. Silver's back up to $87.13 an ounce, and crude oil is high. That's the problem one. It's almost at $71 a barrel. That's not good news. So that's what's going on there.
You know, we always try to find out why is it that the stock market goes up or goes down. Yesterday it was down quite a bit, and supposedly it was because of the Friday Supreme Court decision of the tariffs. It's anyone's speculation that way. Well, Fox Business' Maria Bartiromo spoke with Wall Street Journal's Emma Tucker, who talked about the whole aspect of the tariffs and the effect they have. And Fox News contributor Nicole Parker also talked about President Trump's determination to tackle not only that, but also what we've seen in Mexico with the cartels.
President Trump is saying enough is enough. Thousands and thousands of Americans have been killed. It is not okay, and he is protecting us. He is protecting all of us. Trump declared Jalisco Nueva Generacion as a foreign terrorist organization group last year, which was the right move to do, because you know what? They are a terrorist organization. They are killing thousands of people. And again, this opens up the resources to take it just from criminal over to the terrorist side. This will not be tolerated. We will not back down.
Yes, I think this is a sign of quite how seriously President Sheinbaum is taking this issue. I mean, she's obviously under a lot of pressure from the Trump administration. And, you know, this is a sign that she's willing to do something that previous presidents, previous administrations in Mexico just haven't been prepared to do. It's high risk because those images coming out of Mexico that we saw this morning, those are not good for the tourist industry. And don't forget, you've got the World Cup, Soccer World Cup coming up in July. A high number of the matches are going to be played in Mexico. Is that really something that FIFA is going to be happy to see this morning?
Well, those are all big considerations. There are a couple of questions here. Where is the Mexican military and where is the Mexican police?
And can they get this under control on a long-term basis, especially, as she mentioned, with the FIFA soccer competition coming up? I don't know. Would you go to Mexico to watch that? I mean, that could have a huge impact on that.
Well, what's interesting is that and you know what, we haven't heard a peep out of the Mexican president. So you got to ask yourself, how compromised is Mexico's government from the cartel? And we need to also understand that the cartel is more than just guns and drugs running. They control other industries. They control the avocado industry in the United States. They control other portions of land. I mean, they are a well-oiled machine, if I can put it that way. And they're now on the verge of destroying one of their most economic bases in their country, and that's tourism. What happens if those ships don't come down there? What happens if those tourist ships don't come anymore?
Right.
What happens if they can't play parts of the World Cup down there? I mean, what do you do with this? I mean, their economy now is running and going to hit this wall. And where does that leave the average Mexican citizen? I don't know.
Right. It's a big problem because tourism is a big deal. But if you have places like Puerto Vallarta now being compromised, which is a place Americans thought was safe, then the question is, what parts of Mexico really are safe? Are there any?
Yeah, and I think one of the things I'm following this morning is how are we going to get these people that are there on vacation out? Yeah. Can we bring ships in to get them out? Can we bring airplanes in to get them out? when the airport's been compromised and they've actually burned one airplane already. What do you do with all this stuff? This is pretty serious stuff.
Yep.
All right. Well, speaking of which, that doesn't take from the fact that it's tortilla chips, salsa, and guacamole. And what do you like, cream cheese with that or whatever, sour cream?
I just normally you default to the salsa, but when I saw images of sour cream there, I thought, ooh, that's pretty cool. And guacamole, just a little extra effort when opening up the bottle of salsa.
There you go. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Believe it or not, that there is a God. I believe it. I believe it.
The threat of wildfire poses a growing risk to Oregonians. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be wildfire ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
The launch event is like a training for the younger pro-life generation to be a better pro-life advocate. I think the best part about launch was that it taught us how to argue and then put us on a college campus to argue the pro-life position. Not a lot of knowledge is required to go into launch. You just have to be pro-life and willing to learn.
Join us March 23rd through 26th in Salem, Oregon. Visit ortl.org/launch for more information. Scholarships available. Please email info@jacksoncountyprolife.org.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Hi, I'm Ryan Robertson, host of a brand new program on the Dove, Ministries on the Move. Ministries on the Move spotlights the incredible work of how God is using everyday people and organizations, putting their faith into action, serving the hurting, strengthening families, and sharing the hope of the gospel in practical ways. Be inspired and discover these Ministries on the Move. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m., right here on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative. More at thedove.us.
All right, welcome back. 28 past the hour. Steve Johnson down there, and we're up here, and you're in between. There we go. The whole thing with Iran is still very much in the talk mode. Apparently, they are in Geneva talking about, is there a possible way forward here without conflict? And it doesn't appear to be. It appears that Iran is saying, yeah, we have some nuclear compromises, but we won't tell you what they are. I will say one thing about Iran and the Middle East. They're very good at delay, and they're getting an A in that category. So Julie Stahl will have an update on that, and then she also will bring into the conversation Tucker Carlson a couple of days, or yesterday, interviewed Mike Huckabee, who's the ambassador to Israel, and apparently tried to trap him into some kind of a real estate question relative to what the Bible says in Genesis and what should be land owned by Israel. So kind of an interesting twist on things. So take a look.
U.S. Special Envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are due to meet with Iran's foreign minister for a third round of talks in Geneva, Switzerland on Thursday. Witkoff says President Trump is puzzled that Iran hasn't already agreed to a deal.
Why under this sort of pressure with the amount of sea power, naval power that we have over there, why they haven't come to us and said, we profess that we don't want a weapon, so here's what we're prepared to do, and yet it's hard to sort of get them to that place.
With massive U.S. firepower in the region, President Trump is said to be considering preliminary limited military strikes to force Iran into an agreement. Israel is on its highest alert as it prepares for Iranian retaliation if the U.S. attacks Iran. In recent days, the IDF striking Hezbollah targets in Lebanon as the Iranian proxy would likely join the fight. Iran's president says the government will not yield to external pressure. The state news agency reports student protests at several universities following memorials for those killed in the January protests. Visiting U.S. Congressman Andy Ogles told CBN News in Jerusalem that regime change needs to be organic.
What we've seen over the last few weeks is that the Persian people, the people of Iran, want change. They want their country back. And so I think there's the opportunity for the United States to create that window for the Persian people to, assume their own destiny. But it has to be from the Persian people, the people of Iran. No American boots on the ground.
Ogles says the change would revolutionize Iran, the Middle East, and even the world.
They've destabilized regions all over, countries all over the world, and it'll be a huge shift and quite frankly opens up the opportunity, at least, for peace globally once Iran is no longer in the picture, and quite frankly, their global network of terror.
On the sidelines, Arab and Muslim nations condemned U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee's comment about the Middle East in an interview with Tucker Carlson last week. Carlson quoted from Genesis chapter 15 and asked Huckabee if Israel has a right to all that land. In part, Huckabee responded, it would be fine if they took it all. But the U.S. Embassy later pointed out it was taken out of context. Huckabee continued,
they're not asking to go back to take all of that, but they are asking to at least take the land that they now occupy, they now live in, they now own legitimately, and it is a safe haven for them.
He also said Israel isn't trying to take over Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, or Iraq, just trying to protect itself. U.S. Congressman Scott Perry, who is visiting Israel for the first time, told CBN News that the situation is complicated and it's important to see the facts on the ground.
A lot of people really don't fully understand what the people of Israel deal with on a daily basis, how close your adversaries are, and tactically the advantages they have based on terrain. All those kind of things are important for policymakers to know viscerally.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, all Ambassador Huckabee was doing was responding to what I consider a setup question. What's the grant? What's the promise to Abraham in the book of Genesis? And how broad is that geography? And when you read it, it's enormous. But that's not the situation on the ground in modern Israel today, and that's what he correctly pointed out. Here's the facts on the ground. The UN, under the mandate from the League of Nations, under the mandate that was granted to the UK after World War I, they continued that, and they called for a partition of Palestine into Israel and to a Palestinian state. What did the Palestinians do? What did the other Arab nations do to help their Arab brothers living there? Well, they declared war. And who won that war? Israel won that war. In the 1950s, they declared war again. There was another one. They lost that war. In 1967, there was another one. They lost that war. In 1973, there was another one. They lost that war. In all of that time, Israel kept offering them a Palestinian state. David Ben-Gurion famously offered them everything, including the Temple Mount, which was inconceivable, but he did it for the sake of peace. In every one of those opportunities, they never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. They had plenty of time to create their own state. They had plenty of time for peace. They had plenty of time to recognize what the UN had recognized, that the Jewish people belong in their ancestral homeland. They've refused to do it, and that's why you still hear the call from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Let us not join with that. They are clearly the aggressors.
Well, I think Gordon really pointed it out there, what the deal is. And I think we forget sometimes what the Bible says about Israel. We look at it in the context of today's modern times. But if you really read the original real estate contract that God had with Israel, it's about 1/3 of that today. Dr. David Jeremiah, in one of his books, pointed out and actually did the geographic lines as to where Israel's land should be. And today it's about 1/3 that size. And to think that over these many opportunities, 50s, 60s, 70s, up into the 90s, where they've offered two-state solution, and the Palestinians turned all of them down, even the Temple Mount, which was like, why would you even do this? They turned it all down, and because they have one thing in mind, that is the complete removal of Israel. They want to drive it into the sea and drown all the people. And so that's where it is today. I think that the two-state solution is now permanently off the table, and it should be. And by the way, remember this, Gaza was the first modern-day attempt of a two-state solution. They formed Gaza with the understanding that they could coexist and let it be run by the Palestinians. And of course, Hamas came in and took over the government. But the citizens did vote Hamas in to be their government. And that was a two-state solution. That was the runner-up of a possible two-state solution. And look what happened to that on November 6th, or November 7th, or excuse me, October 7th. So anyway, that's the way it is. And the Bible's pretty clear about that. But until you understand that, you just look at it in today's world. And I really don't know how Tucker Carlson has come up with his interpretation today. He's been known to be a fairly conservative, guy. But if he can read the Bible and try to use the Bible, professing to be a Christian, but use the Bible as a reason why Israel can't have what it was entitled to. If Genesis 15 says that land belongs to Israel, well, who said that? Well, God said it. And somehow that should be the final. You would think. So I don't know. All right, let's check out. Excuse me, sorry about my voice. I'm trying. Let's check out the weather with a guy that has a bad voice too. We got a lot going on in the weather scene. Primarily rain everywhere. Northern Oregon, Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, McMinnville, all with rain showers, temperatures upper 40s, around 50 degrees. It's just slipping into the Willamette Valley, Salem, Albany, Corvallis, Eugene. Again, all with heavy rain throughout the day, temperatures in the upper 40s to the mid 50s. And then in Central Oregon, you'll see some rain out that way, but a little bit milder temperatures. 56 in Prineville, 52 in Bend, Sun River 48, and on out to Boise 50 degrees, all with scattered showers today. The Oregon coast looking for, again, rain, mild temperatures, upper 50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City. Temperatures well into the upper 50s today with rain. Southern Oregon, we've had, excuse me, some very heavy rain here this morning already. Grants Pass, Medford, Ashland, and Klamath Falls, all in the mid to upper 50s with scattered showers and heavy rain at times. Northern California, Wairika, rain 50 to 4 degrees, and then into California, Redding and Chico, upper 50s, down around Sacramento in the metro area there, continued rain showers, temperatures around 60 degrees. The Bay Area, rain, Santa Rosa 59, Napa 60, in the city of San Francisco 63 with rain, and rain is likely in San Jose with a temperature high of about 66 degrees. And that's your weather brought to you by Grange Co-op. And we got a little clouds now has moved in, and some low clouds, and that's all part of the weather system that's over the top of us with continued rain showers. So drive carefully out there.
It's always good to learn from those who went before us. Sometimes we don't ask the right questions, though. I'm sure that we all have relatives who we said, why didn't I talk to them about their experiences in fill in the blank, whatever it might have been? Because you probably thought, oh, I can talk to them anytime. Not necessarily so. Those World War II veterans, there are fewer of them every day. So what can we learn from them? Well, in this clip from the American Veterans Center, World War II veteran Vincent Speranza shared his story of his first return to Belgium since he was there in World War II.
I meet a lady in a shop who has an accent, and when I said, Madame, do I know the French accent? She said, no, Belgique. I said, oh, Belgium. She said, yes, do you know Belgium? I said, yeah, bombs, bullets, and snow. That's what I know about Belgium. And she said, oh, you were there during the war? I said, yes. She said, with the 101st Airborne Division? I said, yes. She said, you have not been back. I said, no, I don't want to go back. She said, Monsieur, you must go back. The people of Bastogne have never forgotten the 101st Airborne Division. There are monuments to you all over town. There is dinners and celebrations. Every year, all the men and women of the town put on American uniforms with the Screaming Eagle patch. They reenact the battle and so on and so on. My daughter was in there. I still said, nah, I don't want to go back. She said, Papa, if nothing else, we should go back to the cemetery where your guys are buried and maybe pay our respects. And my agreeing to that decision is what started the whole this. While I was there, I met a big Dutch paratroop officer who showed me where we were dug in during the war, my foxhole, and all the events that I had put back here hit me in the face. I even heard the artillery again, but it shook me up. I had a nice, complacent life as an educator, so all of a sudden, this stuff comes back, and I realized that as a good American citizen and as a good soldier, I still have an obligation to remind young Americans, hey, my friends, freedom is not free. Somebody has to pay the price, and all of us have to be prepared to pay the price at any time.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's, wow, good stuff all the way around. Well, is the Bible the language of Christians? I guess it has to do with what interpretation. Do you have a King James? You talk in King James, Steve?
Yes, and thou art doing a fine job, Sir Perry.
Well, all right. Sam Mulberry, he's an apologist with Crossway, and he talks about the Bible being the listened-to language for Christians.
One of the things that surprised me the most when I began to think through this whole issue is how little the Bible uses the language of being a Christian. That's our go-to terminology. If you're a follower of Jesus, you're a Christian. The religion is Christianity. And yet the word Christian appears, I think, only 2 or 3 times in the New Testament. The first time as a sort of nickname for the early believers. Instead, the Bible's go-to language for what we call Christian is being in Christ. John uses that language, I think, 36 times. Paul uses it close to 300 times. The language of being in him, in Jesus, or him being in us, that union language is the Bible's default terminology for what we mean by being Christian, which I don't think is insignificant, because the primary terminology we use reflects how we conceive our Christian life to be. And if the Bible's main terminology is to do with our union with Jesus, then we're likely to miss something if that concept isn't in our own terminology. If our own language is merely, I'm a Christian, I follow Christianity, we might miss that whole dimension that the Bible is foregrounding. And so it's good for me to remember that being a Christian isn't just that I'm following Jesus as if he's at the other end of the universe and I'm trying to catch up to him. No, I'm in Christ. I could not be closer to him spiritually. When Jesus, at the end of Matthew's Gospel, said, surely I am with you always to the very end of the age, this is how. Because he's spiritually with us through our union with him. So I still use the term Christian. It's hard not to, but I also want to just make sure I'm being more intentional about using the language of that union to describe what it means to be a Christian, so that hopefully that concept doesn't slide out of our consciousness, because if it does, we will miss so many of the rich things that come with our union with Jesus.
Well, good stuff, good stuff all the way around. All right, coming up more, is your message clear?
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. I hear you singing over me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. And it's beautiful. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
The Pregnancy Center in Medford is a place of hope, providing free pregnancy testing, ultrasounds, options counseling, and support to help women make informed, empowered choices. The Pregnancy Center is growing, hiring registered nurses to join our compassionate team. Work in a supportive environment where you can truly make a difference. No ultrasound experience? No problem. We'll train you in limited ultrasonography, a valuable new skill set for your career. To learn more, visit thepregnancycenter.us. Thepregnancycenter.us.
I'm Susanna, and I contracted KA Designs to do custom cabinets throughout my house. We chose a really beautiful maple wood that really creates like a nice airy space. Everything was custom, and it was really cool because I got to literally see it come to life in person. We love to entertain, and we have a large family, so everything came together perfectly, exactly what I wanted. I highly suggest KA Designs if you're looking to design your dream house. Go check them out in their showroom. You will not be disappointed.
Oops, sorry about that. Good morning to you. And we're about 47 minutes. Sorry about that, Steve.
That's all right.
I'm trying hard to keep it going here. Yesterday I had Brent Hamachek on. He's kind of an interesting guy. He deals a lot. He speaks all over big corporations and everything else. He has a lot to do with, is your message clear? And I asked him, I said, since the president's message is the economy, going into the midterm election, the president's message is the economy, the Democrats' message is anything and anybody but Trump. Where does that leave the American people? And here's what he had to say.
Well, I think in terms of what the midterm election will be, I don't know that the Democrats actually need to have much of a message because the election will be a referendum on Trump and his policies and the perceptions of them. So there will simply be people that view this, since they don't get to vote for president, they're going to go and they're going to vote yes or no on continue this or do anything to stop it, right? I think that's the way they'll vote. So I don't think they need much of a message. You know, I've been a salesperson for 40 years, and I've taught sales, managed sales teams, given keynote addresses, and so on and so forth. We're always taught don't sell using negatives. It's this old rule of selling, and like every other rule, it's generally right, but not always. And so I think in this case, the Democrats will go out and the message is going to be a negative message against Trump. I live in Illinois, so we're filled now with political ads that because it's the primary season, and all of the Democrat messages are on television are messages against Trump. Right? It almost says nothing about their opponent, except if it tries to tie their opponent to Trump. So I think that'll be their message, and Republicans in the House and Senate, they have a difficult challenge, and I like to point out to people that there are two aspects to policy. There is the what and there is the how. And in my mind, they're equally important. They're 50-50. And so the challenge that I think that Republicans have is that for some people, even if they agree with the what of any particular Trump policy, they may have reservations about the hows. And so that's going to be the piece where Republican candidates are going to have to walk a line. And I think in some cases, depending upon their district, they're going to have to, or state,
they're going to have to say to their constituents, look, the president's doing this, this, and this. I know you like those things. You may not like some of the things you've seen in terms of how they're being done, but elect me and I will make it my job to help the president continue with the what's and do better with the how's. Oversimplified, but not by much.
Interesting. I did ask him, do you think that the president has now created his own fatigue factor on how he handles things? And his answer to that, yes, very definitely. So I think he makes a good point. This will be a referendum on the president's policies, but will the policies be disconsidered at the cost of his personality?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard to get away from that because we know who he is. You know, we've had him around for a few years here.
Yeah.
You know, I hope you had a great Valentine's Day, if you can think back that far, you know, to the 14th and all that. Well, you might have recalled that there was a cafe that was doing something very interesting. Dr. Anthony George talks about the cafe offering Valentine's dinners for people and their AI dates.
So once we have a renewed mind and we are growing in our ability to think logically instead of inconsistently, or I would even say erratically and nonsensically, we begin to recognize what is illogical, what is inconsistent, and what is internally contradictory. So that means when you are a logical thinker and you hear about the restaurant in New York City that opened last night to provide a Valentine's date at a table with a meal with a chat box robot. Now, it's one thing that they offered it, it's another thing that they sold out on reservations. You have to be dumb as dirt to go have a date with an artificially intelligent chat box. Have you lost your mind? So, you know what? There's one thing to be artificially intelligent. There's another thing to be willfully unintelligent, and that's what that is. Not only that, but I just saw a news story last week that in China they have made a robot powered by artificial intelligence that will simulate a human body temperature, and they've created a flesh covering, which means now humans are going to be dating robots and probably other things unmentionable that we wouldn't even want to talk about. Remember, the unsaved mind is darkened. It gets to a place where it is past feeling, right? Past the ability to sense conscience. The point that I'm making here is logical people look at that and say, we've lost our way. Also heard a statistic that 1 in 5 of every teenager between 16 and 19 in America admits to having developed a personal relationship with a chat box, GPT, or an artificial intelligence bot. And there are stories of teenagers having committed suicide when they realized their lover was a non-entity. They fell in love with an algorithm. Ladies and gentlemen, all of this tells me that we are living in the days of the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, where it says God will give them over to strong delusion. And now we have the apparatus for prophecy to be borne out in our lifetime with this artificial intelligence phenomenon.
Yeah. I was in a meeting several months ago where we actually had a full-blown conversation with an avatar human being.
Was that frightening?
Well, it's pretty scary because this person on the screen, and I was in the room with 4 pastors, and we were talking to this avatar person on the screen what that person could do in helping us develop sermon material. And at the end of the day, well, we could do, tell us the topic, we'll give you the Bible references, both New and Old Testament. If you want, we can come up with some examples. We could come up with some, stories to kind of tie into it. And we can select the songs for your worship service that would correspond with your topic. So that's where we are. I think the biggest thing we learned at the NRB was AI is all over the place. It's a wonderful thing. It's also dangerous. But the biggest caution is, will it impact and eliminate studying of the Word by the pastor, hearing from God in a transcendent way, and delivering the message to the congregation?
Yeah. I can see where it's a help, but also it sounds a bit frightening to me. Yeah.
Pretty wild. All right, Tom Del Beccaro will be back with us, former chairman of the Republican Party in California. He wrote the book called Lessons of the American Civilization. We'll be breaking down some of the things, the Supreme Court ruling from the president, and then Kenneth Abramowitz, if there's anybody that can kind of give us an insight of what may or may not be going on with Iran. He's the guy. He's the author of a fascinating book called The Multi-Front War. So those two things coming our way. Take with you Psalm 23, the 23rd Psalm, very familiar song. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Take that with you. See you, buddy. Thanks.
All right. Tomorrow.
My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
Applegate River Golf and RV Resort, a pristine 9-hole course alongside the Applegate River. Their clubhouse offers a golf simulator experience. The RV resort is adjacent to the golf course with convenient pull-through parking. Applegate River Golf and RV Resort. Information at applegaterv.com.
It's time to play Who's Got the Oldest Furnace for your chance to win a brand new Dave Lennox Signature Collection furnace and thermostat from Metal Masters. It's easy to play. If you think you've got an old furnace, call us to schedule an appointment with a home comfort consultant by November 20th. A winner will be selected by December 4th. For details, call Metal Masters, your local Lennox dealer. In Medford, call 779-1049. In Klamath Falls, call 883-3237. Or visit us online at metalmasters-inc.com. Committed to your comfort since 1968, we're Metal Masters. License number CCB 529.
What an amazing year of growth last year for the Dove. You, our viewers and partners, blessed us with a new studio, a video wall to create sets for new local programming, a state-of-the-art control room, and much-needed insulation along with heating and air conditioning. Plus, you helped us renew many tower leases, so we can continue to bring you the Dove all across our network and a brand new full-power TV station. And from everyone here at the Dove, a huge thank you. We could have never done this without you. Your prayers and support is allowing the Dove to bring the gospel, encouragement, and information to millions more people needing the hope of Christ worldwide. We appreciate you standing with the Dove prayerfully and financially in our mission to reach people with the good news via television, radio, and streaming online. Thank you for your continued faithful support in keeping the Dove encouraging and informative 24 hours a day.
The Dove TV streams worldwide on Roku and Apple TV, plus online at thedove.us.
Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there's no other, 'cause Jesus is the way. Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there's no other, 'cause Jesus is the way. Sing along.
You're watching the Dove TV, encouraging and informative for Bend and Central Oregon. Seen on KBND 14 and these Dove TV affiliates.
Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and always honored when we have time to sit down with Tom Del Beccaro. He's the author of a fascinating book and actually a manual. It's called The Lessons of the American Civilization. There's a picture of the book on the screen. You need to get a copy of this. It's not very long, but it is very powerful. He's also former chairman of the California Republican Party, the author of two historical perspectives, The Divided Era and The New Conservative Paradigm. He's a columnist for Fox News, Fox Business, and Epoch Times, and the publisher of the politicalvanguard.com. He does have a website, and that's tomdell.com, and there's a picture of the landing page. Brother Tom, good to see you. How are you, friend?
Always good to see you. Sorry you're under the weather.
Well, I was traveling and I lost my voice. I actually feel pretty good, but I was at the NRB convention. I'm in and out of rooms and air conditioning and hot and cold, and my voice went like that. So, anyway, bear with me. Good to see you. So let's start with California. How do you see the governor's race today?
Well, full disclosure, I have a PAC called electionfairness.com. We're going to be doing an independent expenditure on behalf of Steve Hilton. The way I see the race today is the Democrats are very much divided. They have 7 or 8 candidates. They just had their convention. None of them got the endorsement. Eric Swalwell probably had the most support. His problem is the law requires that he have been a California resident for the last 5 years. He lives in Maryland, or at least that's what he told his lender, that his primary residence was in Maryland. You know how that goes. So we're going to have to see how that plays out legally, but they're very divided. There are 2 prominent Republicans, Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton. Steve Hilton's been raising the most money among Republicans, and if you look at most of the independent polling, he seems to be doing well, better than Bianco. So in the immortal words of somebody, stay tuned, because this hasn't sorted itself out and the primary's in June.
Do you think there's a realistic path forward for a Republican?
Well, I do think, remember that we have this ridiculous primary system where the top 2 finishers, all candidates are on the ballot in June on one ballot. All the Democrats, all the Republicans, there'll probably be 30, and the top 2 of them go to November. So the question is, does a Republican get in that top 2? If the Democrats remain divided, then there's a very good chance a Republican could get into that top 2. It's very possible that the unions will finally decide on one candidate, even though they don't like any of them currently, and put all their money behind them, and then we'll see what the Republicans do.
If the Democrats are that divided, is that?
Well, Perry, you ask a good question, because California is a I was going to say an unholy mess. Can I say that on your show?
Sure, go ahead.
It's an unholy mess. And it's one of the reasons why Harris didn't want to run, because why would she want to take over a mess if she has bigger aspirations still? And California is so messy that it's going to be very hard for anyone to succeed on the Democrat side, because they're just going to add fuel to the fire, if I could use that analogy. So yes, in a sense, it is a reflection that he's left behind a mess, and no one wants to be the successor to that mess.
Governor Gavin Newsom shake the mess and still run for president?
I think he will still run, but stand scrutiny. If you'll forgive me for saying, Gavin is not the brightest bulb he just isn't. Say that about people, but it's important because he wants to be the president. And he has demonstrated time and again that he will just shoot his mouth off without any, it seems, filter. Now, I get it that Trump says a lot of things, but Gavin says, I mean, his recent comments in Atlanta about his SAT His saying that he lost his birth certificate at 7 years old, that's just an outright lie. No one knows what they lost at 7 years old. Mm-hmm. And no parent allowed his kid to have the birth certificate. So he is willing to say things that don't stand scrutiny, and he's not smart enough to realize these kind of things. So he shouldn't be in that position. So his record is bad, and the more he talks, the more harm he does to himself. So no, I don't think he stands scrutiny, and I think he doesn't get the nomination.
On the other hand, the Democrats have shown that they vote for him anyway. I mean, if they voted for Kamala Harris, which is probably a couple of elevator levels below Gavin Newsom. I mean, you really don't have to be smart. You don't really have to know what you're doing. You just have to be there saying something, and you'll get the vote. But I don't know who else in the Democratic Party could rise to the top other than him.
So you're scratching the surface of the reality that they don't have a good bench. And why don't they have a good bench? Because as Bill Maher has pointed out, Fareed Sakara just recently did on CNN, they push these policies that are failure policies. Mm-hmm. And therefore, if you don't have successful governors, then you don't have people that should get promoted. So they have a very bad bench. They always talk, oh, we have a great bench. Well, where are your successful governors? California is the least affordable state. Illinois is right there. There's another guy who wants to run. And then you had Michigan. You had the governor there pass no taxes on tips, but then she went abroad and she couldn't answer a single foreign policy question. You had AOC, who obviously, but is in way over her head. I was going to say the Mark Twain of the U.S. Senate, John Kennedy, said that she's Kamala Harris with more bartending experience. They just don't have these successful people. Nevertheless, they're successful within their own party because they preach class division and they hate Trump. And those are the only two qualifications necessary on the left to run. Success at home in your state is not a requirement.
In the meantime, Governor Newsom has tried to cozy up to Alex Soros and others. I don't know if any other foreign leaders like him. I don't know if China's reached out to him. I mean, he could compile a lot of money, but does that mean anything?
Well, the question is, can he become president? It does mean something for the nomination. The brilliant Joel Kotkin ran a piece in the California Post about how China wants Newsom as president because Newsom's. But does he convince Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania enough to become the president? And that, again, the answer is I don't think so, because he just has too many problems. Stephen A. Smith is relentless on him about his poor record. And then the more he talks, the more I think he'll get more money than Kamala will. But I just think he peaked early and then doesn't stand scrutiny.
Yeah. A couple of things in California before I move on. Boy, the Italians really put on quite the show. And but here comes the next level of that, LA, for the Summer Olympics. And
no, they do not have. There is no competency in LA. I mean, Karen Bass is a perfect example of what I was just discussing. This is a person with no discernible skill or record of achievement. She still probably is going to win re-election even with the disaster. And the problem is security there. You're going to have the world descend upon it. And who knows what is safe within LA. So I don't think they'll ever be ready. And this is going to be very interesting. I certainly don't wish anybody any harm, but even what's happening in Mexico today related to the cartels could spill over on the border, is near the border. And an enormous force needs to be ready and very vigilant. And I, for one, won't be going there. Is it a lot of security in Milano? So we need to get used to that. We think we can do without that, but something like this, I don't think so. And if you even look at what happened this week, how is it possible that some young kid got through a barrier with a gun to Mar-a-Lago? We need to wake up. We need to be much, much more serious.
All right, let me take a quick break here. I got a ton of more questions for him. Go to Tom's website, tomdell.com, and there's a picture of that landing page, and get a copy of his books. It's a manual. It's a lesson book. You'll write in the margins. It's called The Lessons of the American Civilization. You can get it online. There it is, right there.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs.
Fun. Whose clients include the top chefs in the world.
They asked the guy, like, why you allow this N-word to come to your house?
How this knife maker made history.
Because you may have a perceived notion of who you may think I am. Dang, I gotta fight this.
Tuesday on the 700 Club, right here on the Dove TV.
All right, welcome back, and always an honor to have with us Tom Del Beccaro. He's the author of a book that we've been certainly promoting and encourage you to get a copy of, called The Lessons of the American Civilization. There's a picture of the cover of the book there on the screen, and you can certainly get it online. You'll end up using this as a manual, writing in the margins. It's not a long book, but it's a powerful one. Check it out, and check out Tom's website, tomdell.com. Tom, I want to move your attention over to the president's actions these days as a result of the Supreme Court saying no to his tariffs policy, and he's now interpreting that and moving forward anyway.
The Supreme Court actually makes, in my view, makes more policy than the Congresses. Ever since Obama, in the olden days, 25 years ago, the differences would be hashed out in Congress and compromises made. But we live in what I call the divided era above my shoulder. What happened was a law was put up that had clear defects. They wouldn't compromise, and they waited for the Supreme Court to make the decision. I'm not as bleak on the Trump actions as you made it just sound. I think this was one of the most divided court opinions we've ever seen, even though it was 6-3. The three on the left that voted for it only did it because it was anti-Trump and they were completely hypocritical in their ruling. The three that voted for it, John Roberts, I don't believe is particularly scholarly or consistent. And Gorsuch eviscerated the people who voted for it by saying you're being intellectually inconsistent, which is a way of saying hypocritical. But Trump thinks these tariffs are helping, and there are other laws. A bit, you have big days and you have bad days, but the market as a whole would prefer no tariffs. So the fact that that came off is it for many in the market is viewed as a good thing. We also need to remember about the market that in off years, the market tends to go sideways because of uncertainty. And so there may be gains in March, April, and May, excuse me, but come June through November, if you look at the history of the markets, you may well find that the market tends just to meander and go sideways, the major indices, and that may happen again here as they wait out the election.
Are you expecting anything out of the ordinary in the State of the Union address tonight?
Well, I tell you, and I wrote about this. People can see it on my Substack, and they can see it on my Facebook page. Elections are about the future. State of the Unions are a chance for any president, regardless of party, to make their own case.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
But still, it must be about the future. Trump must talk about good things. But he must, leadership is about convincing people you are in charge and the future will bend to you. And so he needs to go on the stage tonight and say, and I use the word stage on purpose, and convince people that he's got a command of the future and they are better off for what he has started and what he's going to finish.
Someone said earlier this exchange one word for another, and the word would be exchanging I to we. Would you agree?
Yeah, the great through higher purpose. The greatest leaders in history ennoble people to a cause. So if you look at Lincoln and as the Civil War dragged on and soldiers were lost, he ennobled their cause to be greater than just what they are doing, that they are the last best hope. Washington in the Battle of Long Island said the same, essentially. Are we to be free people or slaves? He didn't say be safe and go out there and shoot somebody. They essentially said save the world. And so that's what's within the I versus the we.
How damaging was the whole ICE issue to President Trump?
If it doesn't arise again, not very. Because the Democrats have become the party of protests. And protests are historically viewed as showing anger and being juvenile, not capable of leadership. The protests of the 60s ushered in 2 decades of Republican presidencies and a smattering of Democrats. And the Democrats are viewed that way, that they're underwater dramatically. Trump needs to get on message, which is what concerns me about going back to tariffs, because the message isn't tariffs. The country, 60% of the country is against tariffs. I understand why he believes in them, but he needs to get on message about how all these things are affecting people's lives, and they are. AI construction is great for the construction. He has to make them real in people's lives. He has to tell the story about how the small restaurant owner who doesn't have to pay taxes related to tips or on overtime, how that helps.
Looking at the midterms, the president's not on the ballot, but his policies certainly are. And he plans on barnetry. But at the same time, there's some are saying that could be at the risk of increasing Trump fatigue. What do you think?
If the Republicans are going to win the midterms, and there's some headwinds, particularly the fact that Virginia and other states are doing this gerrymandering and Indiana chose not to. That's the big risk there. Again, they have to talk about the future. He has to say, in the next 2 years, here are the 5 things we will do. And the Democrats just want to go back to the spending that caused the inflation that took 20% of your savings away with the cheapening of the US dollar. If they talk again about the future, then then yes. Perry, I know you have other questions, but I heard your last guess about that dating thing, and I do want to say a 30-second spot on that.
Sure.
At the end of the day, we live in a world where our children are not given sufficient values. And the things that they value are very temporary. We don't teach them about how important it is to volunteer or to take care of your brother or to be involved in community or to build relationships. Now we face great difficulty with technology because the parents are very focused on that. And that what needs to return. I get it that you have these kids with these in their hand and quote, developing a relationship. But either we give them values, and that of course includes religion, or we don't, and we're not. And so we can talk about how oh, it's crazy, we've lost. Yes, we have. We've lost that. And I've discussed the effect of that in my book, The Lessons of the American Civilization.
It's so true. I would say that the American church is suffering because we really haven't passed on our faith by example.
It is such a... You look at, there's a revival among many after Charlie Kirk, and that was all brought up. It is true that the human being prefers order over chaos. The socialist state sows chaos, promises things through the state that is never delivered. It collapses. Along that line, what the socialist does is destroy belief in God, because they don't like the competition of God. So they say, we can do it all. They fail, and then people return to religion because it offers the one thing the socialist state can't, which is peace and hope to the human. So throughout all of history, we've had these cycles and look to a government, and the government fails, and they return. But we must do that as a civilization if we are going to right this ship. Two basic values of children doing chores and appreciating the values that brought this country to. And we're going to have to fight on the education front. Thanks. I mean, it's that simple, but that hard.
Yes.
And so I'm not shocked by these stories, but I'm also heartened by the fact that people are starting to wake up to the emptiness of what the left preaches in brotherhood, the helping of others, the community you create, and believing that you are part of something greater, that there's more to the earth than just what you can buy, right? And there was a person who came along a couple thousand years ago who changed most of world history. I mean, think about one person who did all of that, very humbly, by the way.
Tom, that's a beautiful sermon. Thank you. We got to end there. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, he just underscored another reason for you to get his book, The Lessons of the American Civilization, online. I'm sure you can get there. And it's not a lengthy book. It's just a powerful book. So check it out. And of course, Tom's website, tomdale.com, where you can communicate with him. Thank you, brother. It's always good to see you and an honor to have you. Let's stay connected.
Okay, I love coming on when you can barely talk. It lets me go farther.
He's got the whole world in his hands, and he knows the plans for us. Above and beyond we could ask or imagine, his grace is more than It's in his hands. It's in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Come on, Steve.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary, sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare, where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living. Your home.
Organizations that are fighting to protect Israel and America from political Islam. He's the founder of SaveTheWest.com, which is a website dedicated to saving the Western civilization from itself. There's a picture of the landing page, and you can certainly check it out, and that is SaveTheWest.com. Ken, good to see you again. Bear with me, my voice isn't very good today, but always an honor to have you, sir. Let's start with Iran. Are we on the brink of war?
The way I look at life is human beings are always in a state of war. So even though I call what we're in World War III, you could say it's World War I. Human beings have been fighting ever since human beings were one, too. But to answer your question directly, yes, we're about to embark on a new form of war. In other words, kinetic war. I think roughly March 1st. For the month of March, I don't see any resolution of our dispute with Iran. And as I say, there's no non-military solution to this problem. So I expect America and Israel to jointly blow up Iran, nuclear sites, enrichment sites, Navy, Air Force, government officials, Revolutionary Guards, the whole works, so to speak, during the month of March. I don't see how it's avoidable.
What can Iran possibly give up and still exist?
Well, Iran's I call them an Islamo-Nazi death cult. So it's like negotiating with Hitler in the previous generation. So if you were negotiating in the previous generation. So if you were negotiating with Hitler and you say, I want to negotiate with you. I want you to stop being a Nazi. You go, excuse me, I'm a Nazi. I said, no, you didn't understand me. We're negotiating now. I want you to stop being a Nazi. I want you to stop killing Jews and gypsies. Stop killing Christians who disagree with you. End your police state. Stop invading all the other countries in Europe. Stop your work on nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. He'd say, excuse me, that's what I am. You're asking me to give up what I am. I'm going to fight to the death. And he fought to the death. So that's what I expect Iran to do.
Do you think a good portion of the leadership is still there? The reason I ask that question is they're going to go to where their money is, and that this could possibly be a proxy war. Or is that just hearsay?
No, I also saw an article that the top $5 or so $1 billion each which is quite something on given what government officials get for salaries. So you because it was just a criminal organization pretending to be a government, pretending to be a theocracy, and it was all an excuse to steal money. So they're shipping their money out now, and my guess is they'll ship themselves out over the next week, or they'll be blown up next week. So some of them will stay and fight till the end, and some will go find bunkers. They'll be blown up, and some will try to escape. And I guess they can live happily ever after in Russia or whatever criminal country accepts them.
Isn't President Trump somewhat morally bound by saying to the citizens who have been protesting in the streets, we have your back, but he hasn't been there?
Yes, he's morally bound, but bear something in mind in politics. I'm sure he has some advisor saying, Mr. President, there's 93 million people in Iran, none of whom vote for you. So you can abandon the 80 million who hate the regime and are living in a prison and may well get killed, but no American cares. So disregard Iran. I'm sure someone's saying that to him. So he's got to be very strong and courageous and say, well, wait a minute, I'm president of the United States, but I'm also the leader of the free world. And I cannot allow 80 million people to be killed through genocide. It'll be one of the world's largest genocides, and it's not happening under my watch. And also, I have to prevent them from having an intercontinental ballistic missile system, which they're working on right now, to put a nuclear weapon, maybe they'll buy it from North Korea or Pakistan, and blow up America. I'm not going to sit here and wait for them to blow up 28 million Americans or kill 80 million Iranians and then say.
It's been said that if and when we attack Iran, that they first will retaliate against Israel, which draws Israel into the war. I'm assuming, and that's a big assumption, that the United States and Israel are coordinated on this, and that if that is a point that they have figured out who takes what target, do you think that's been talked about?
Yes, well, look, that's what basically happened during the 12-day war of last year. Israel did the work for 11 days, and America showed up on the 12th day and took all the credit. So this could be a repeat of that, or it could be more of a joint venture. Now, bear in mind, Israel gets 2/3 of its weapons from America, and I'm sure a lot of intelligence, and Israel provides a lot of intelligence to America. So I look at America and Israel as a joint venture. We're the only two countries in the world that basically work. That can, my standard is, can you provide life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to your citizens? Only America and Israel basically can do that. And so countries, Christians and Jews, basically have to save Western civilization, which makes sense because Jews and Christians are the foundation of Western civilization, are the epitome of Western civilization. So we're basically saving our mother, so to speak. And Iran is an enemy of civilization and hates the Ten Commandments, hates God, hates the rule of law, and basically wants to impose their Islamo-Nazi death count on all Christians, Jews, and Hindus. And at a certain point in time, you have to say, I'm playing this game, the buck stops with me, and the answer is no.
Okay, we're assuming that there's going to be a breakout here, some kind of a military action taken. Where does that leave China and Russia?
Well, China and Russia are supplying this Islamo-Nazi death cult with, just like America and Israel work together. Well, Iran and Russia and China work together, and they're all evil. They're all part of the axis of evil. But I don't think Russia confrontation. I mean, they'll send some ships there, and they'll show their unhappiness. But if they get involved in a fight, they'll all be blown up within a day. Israel and America showed in the last 12-day war that our technology is so superior to Russian and Chinese technology that they won't last for a day or two. And by the way, Russia and China copy American and Israeli technology, and copies are never as good as the original. And so I don't think China and Russia are in any position to challenge other than with rhetoric. And but American Israel technology is really just unchallenged right now.
In the meantime, the citizen protest inside Iran seem to be significant in spite of the killing. It's just amazing. And they don't seem to be driven by... If Iran is neutralized, where does it leave those protesters?
The protesters are very brave. They've been living in a prison for 47 years. And by the way, Islam is 1,400 years old. You could also say they've been fighting a war for freedom for 1,400 years, or you could say it's been for 47 years. But anyways, they're very brave, very courageous. Something like 40,000 have officially been killed. I'll just guess it's closer to 100,000 killed. I mean, we're dealing with evil. We're dealing with Hitler on steroids right now. In America, our parents and grandparents confronted Hitler in the Japanese, of course, parents confronted Hitler in the Japanese, of course, in World War II. And this is the challenge we have. This is the next, and we have to stand up and stop them. And I think March is a good month to stop them. Sure, President Trump will give directions. Use all the bombs you have, do whatever you have to do, but get this thing over in a month, if at all humanly possible.
All right, let me take a break. Check out Kenneth Abramowich's book, The Multi-Front War. This is a must-read, and you can get that online. There's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen. And then check out his website, SaveTheWest.com, a good place to connect and get more information. Very resourceful. SaveTheWest.com. We'll be right back.
Applegate River Golf and RV Resort, a pristine 9-hole course alongside the Applegate River. Their clubhouse offers a golf simulator experience. The RV resort is adjacent to the golf course with convenient pull-through parking. Applegate River Golf and RV Resort. Information at applegaterv.com.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Okay, welcome back. An honor to have back with us Kenneth Abramowitch. Check out his book called The Multi-Front War. It talks about a lot of these things that we're talking about here, but the term multi-front needs to be taken seriously because there's something going on everywhere. Check out his website, SaveTheWest.com, and there's the picture of that landing page. Ken, coming back, just a couple of quick things. You used the term highly kinetic. Explain that term.
The term was, did you say kinetic?
Kinetics, yes, excuse me.
Yeah. So there's 7 forms of warfare that I monitor. Number 1 is kinetic. That means things blow up, in bullets, missiles, everything that most people regard as war. Fire, blasts, noise. But there's 6 other forms of warfare that I also monitor, and that's chemical and biological, cultural. For example, you, me, everyone listening, we're cultural warriors. We fight with our words. We don't have bullets. Number 3, alternative form of warfare is economic, and then there's legal, demographic, and cyber. So there's kinetic plus 6 others. And when the 6 other forms of warfare don't work, then you're stuck with kinetic warfare. Kinetic warfare is like the method of last resort. In other words, you try everything possible. You negotiate, and you economic boycotts, you legal suits, cyber. But when you run out of persuasive methods, and your enemy says, I don't care, I want to kill everybody, and I'm a death cult, and you can't stop me, then you have no choice, and that's where we are now.
Okay, good. Thank you. If Iran is neutralized in the next month or so, where does that leave the Middle East as a whole?
Oh, it leaves. I'm very optimistic. I have the same anxiety as you and everyone has about March. But when you get to April and May, I'm very optimistic. For America, this is like a World War II moment. This is like Victory in Europe Day. We have to fight the war. We're not victorious yet. But I think in a month or two, we will be victorious, and we'll have this sense of euphoria that we had after we destroyed the Nazis and the Japanese death cults in World War II. Now, there'll be a scramble within Iran. The Revolutionary Guards, who I read control 40% of the economy, will say, wait a minute, it's our country. We have all these businesses, and you can't take it away from them, and we're now in charge. And then the equivalent of we the people will say, no, we're in charge, and we're loyal to the son of the Shah. So there'll be aftermath problems of people fighting to pick up the remnants. And then we're going to have to be involved and help the we the people and the Shah's son take over and from the Revolutionary Guard. So think of it as a 2-step process. First, we have to destroy all their means of evil. And then we have to fight the remaining sources of evil and put people who are, I would say, normal or believe in life, live in pursuit of happiness in power. So there's extra work after the kinetic war.
So do you think the son of the Shah is the future leader?
Well, it seems to be the one that people are gravitating to and are person. And what's particularly likable, because there's many opposition parties to this government, but I think they're standardizing on the Shah's son. And one of the reasons is he publicly says, I don't want to be the next king. I don't want to be the next president. I want to be involved for the next 1 or 2 years, create order out of this chaos, get the country back into its feet, let the democracy rule again, and I will guide to a new government, using American terms, run by the people, for the people. And so, therefore, he's not a threat to the different opposition groups, because he has publicly said many, many, many times, I'm a transitional figure. I want to get our country back on its feet again.
In the meantime, he's lived in the West. He's been westernized fairly significantly. That would be a plus, don't you think?
Yes, because 90% of the people want to be westernized. Islam was basically imposed on the Iranian people several hundred years ago, and they rejected it. They don't want to be part of a totalitarian dictatorship in the supposed name of Allah. And so this is a chance for them to throw off the yoke of a dictatorship and be normal and join the world, join the Western world. And so that's a very freedom is around the corner, let's say, for them.
So Where would this leave Qatar and Saudi Arabia if Iran is neutralized?
Well, I think you could say all the dictatorships. I mean, we have Russia and China. They have the Islamic dictatorships, Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia. Where does that leave them? So all of the dictatorships are anxious that we, the people, take over their own population. And their own population will say, oh, we want to be free and normal like the Iranians just became. Mr. Chinese leader, Mr. Russian leader, Saudi Arabia, attain the urge for freedom within their own countries. Also, Russia and China will lose a big client. China will lose a source of discounted oil. They'll still be able to buy oil, but at the world market price, not the 50% or discounted price. So they'll adjust to it, but there's nothing much they can do with it other than supply Iran with all the weapons that they can get in before they're blown up next week.
It's been said, I don't know if it's true or not, that if this war does break out, that it could create the classic subterfuge for China to go ahead for Taiwan. Is that stretching it?
Yes, that's my biggest concern. And because America massively underinvested in armaments. We're spending roughly $1 trillion. President Trump has proposed $1.5 trillion. I wish we had already spent $1.5 trillion. We've expended a lot of weapons in Europe, obviously with Ukraine, a lot of weapons in the Middle East with Israel, and we have to be prepared to fight in the Pacific. In other words, we're fighting a three-front war right now, and no one ever created a plan for a three-front war. Congress never allocated the resources for a three-front war, and here we are fighting a three-front war. That's one of the reasons why I think President Trump will want this thing done in a month, and I think he's ending 50% as fast as humanly possible. He's 100% correct.
In the meantime, if this war breaks out and there's retaliation against Israel, Israel also would be facing the Houthis again. They would be facing Lebanon. I mean, all of those surrogate groups would have their last hurrah during this time. They got to be prepared for that.
Yes, and yes, and yes. Israel's already destroyed, let's say, 90% of Hamas in Gaza. It's destroyed, let's say, 65% of Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's destroyed, let's say, 50% of the Houthis. And now they're going to have to go back and finish the other. And so Israel can't run out of bombs. America can't run out of bombs. President Trump should immediately call up the top 10 military manufacturers and somehow tell them to expand your production lines more, 24/7. Weapons, you don't produce weapons in a day.
Right.
So still, he should say to all of them, if you're not at 24/7, go to 24/7 and basically buy and contract to weapons they can produce. Because yes, we cannot run out of weapons, particularly in the Chinese theater, because we expended them all in Ukraine and in the Middle East.
What do you think about Syria?
Syria is a big mistake. By the way, I love the Trump administration, but people being people, they can make mistakes. Syria is a series of mistakes. And Syria is roughly 50% minorities, like Christians, Alawites, is roughly 50% minorities, like Christians, Alawites, Druze, and Kurds, and 50% Sunni. That's responsible for all of its citizens in the American model. And that's not the way it works in the Middle East.
Right.
In the Middle East, there's no one size fits all. We should have supported a Sunni country, which is of Syria, and protected the minorities. That's the American way. We don't throw minorities under the bus in America. So this President Trump has the wrong ambassador there. Tom Barrack should be fired immediately. He's listening to misinformation from Turkey and Qatar. Right. And so after the Iran war, President Trump's going to revisit Syria and fix the mess that Tom Barrack created.
All right, let me say to our viewers and listeners, get Kiddett's book, The Multi-Front War. And there's a picture of the page, or the cover on the screen there. Get a cover. It's available online. And certainly go to his website and check that out, savethewest.com. Very resourceful. Ken, you're an amazing guy. You're a blessing. Thank you. Let's stay connected. We have a lot to talk about. And let's see if March is going to be the March you talk about.
We'll soon find out. You won't have to wait long.
Okay. All right. God bless you, friend.
Okay. God bless you. Great to be with you as always.
Thank you.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express. Breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
It was an amazing year of growth here at the Dove. You, our viewers and partners, blessed us with a new studio, a video wall, control room, and much needed installation, heating and air conditioning. Plus, you helped us renew our tower leases so we can continue